Yeah, so Steven Kitsoff will be out, Jean Klein will be out, Lori Jager will be out, Jael de Pre will be out, Jaden, Henko, which we had in camp, Kanan, Damien, and Currie. Those will be the guys who's not available.
Is that just for Wales now?
Of the first Island Test match also.
Okay.
Hi, Rusty. If the Bulls lose on Saturday, could they be included in the Wales team, or is it too late? Is that ship sailed?
No, I think in certain positions, yes, definitely. If you look at the squad that we have here currently, we're gonna hopefully announce our team internally on Sunday, so the guys can from Monday, especially the newer guys in the team, get settled before we fly out Wednesday. So in certain positions, we will be a few young guys next to each other. Then some of the Bulls guys, which we know, understand how we want to play and change a few things. Some of them has been, most of them has been at alignment camps. So I don't think everybody that will eventually be involved with the Irish Test matches will get drafted in for the Wales Test match, just for the pure fact that they haven't really trained with us apart from next week. So, but then where there's a hell of a lot of experience, and we've got already a few injuries on the outside backs, on the wingers. Cheslin is touch and go to be ready then, but Mapimpi is fine, and we might be thin there, but then we've got Horn and we've got Fussy, but a guy like Leroux might be somebody who can just help settle down the combinations there. So yeah, depending on how the guys do tomorrow and injury-wise, but it wouldn't be ideal for them just to have trained 3 training sessions and play a test match against Wales.
Russ, just on that, how important will it be for South African rugby that the Bulls put in a strong performance against Leinster on Saturday?
No, very important. I mean, as much as I would love to have them in our camp and be with us every single minute since last week, since Monday, and the alignment camps and everything. Leinster is, I think all countries are striving to have a franchise like Leinster. I mean, they do sometimes lose big matches, but they're consistently, in the top 4, in the final or host the final, and obviously that gets transferred into the national team. So, for us, if the Bulls can pull this one through, I think it's going to be really, really tough. But if the Bulls can pull it through, we're fully behind them, and if it means we have to play without the Bulls players, but the South African franchise goes through, I think that's very important, and will boost us overall to eventually get Champion Cups victories and so on. I think the URC is another step. It's not only the Stormers, vitally important.
Russell, in terms of your selection policy, if you like, for Wales, is it kind of a balance between holding guys back for Ireland, keeping guys in cotton wool, giving newcomers a chance, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, I think we're at a stage where we don't have the luxury of keeping guys in cotton wool. Simple thing is the guy like, if you just take Ox, has played a lot, but, he's not tired. He's not punch drunk. Same with Vincent, same with France. Kyle Gerritsen did really well for us last year. When he comes available, he'll probably be someone who just slots in. He's not old and punch drunk, So then a guy like Malcolm is somebody you probably want to manage a little bit. And with the other hookers around, you have to think carefully, because you want to see some new blood playing, but then also you don't want to do what happened in 2018, where we blooded a hell of a lot of guys, but we lost the test match. So we want to win the test match. We want to manage some guys getting back from injury, and then we also want to try and get some youngsters through. So it is a bit of I won't say a balancing act, but as the weeks go on, we get clarity. Okay, Malcolm can play in that game. Okay, Cheslin, we have to manage him still. Currie is still out. So yeah, as the weeks go on, but I think putting them in cotton wool, they won't be then match fitness and almost battle ready for Ireland, and Wales is certainly no pushover, as we've always experienced.
Russell, just following up on that, looking back in hindsight, the decision in that 2018 game against Wales to blood a lot of people. Looking back in hindsight, do you think it was worth it, even though you lost, or would you rather have actually just won that test and maybe fielded a stronger team?
I think twice against Wales, was it, that we picked, didn't we Wales the other year also in the second test match, pick a totally different team. We lost that match, but then I certainly think it paid off for some guys who made the step up from maybe playing a tier 2 team, playing a tier 1 team, then playing maybe the All Blacks or teams who's number 1 and 2 in the world. But also, you know, we all understand that losing a test match, obviously there comes negativity, there comes a bit of worry with that, there comes a bit of pressure with that. So without a doubt, you know, we have to keep our long-term hat on. But as we all know, as South Africans, for ourselves, our players and our management, you don't want to make it easy. Those guys must still be able to win that test match. I think that's the most important thing.
Rassie, in terms of those youngsters here, you've brought in quite 11 uncapped players. You know, it's quite a nice, big, exciting group, getting a lot of experience now, you know, going into this Wales game. But also there are a few guys that missed out, you know, guy like Solomon Hartzenberg down in Western Cape, Snelo Nahamba, I think even Warwick Land, you know. Would those guys come in to the possible squad after the Wales test, or do you think you'll be more bringing in more experienced guys to bolster ahead of Ireland?
Yeah, remember when we played 5 and 9 and 10 at the World Cup, you know, there's always, and fully understand it, that there's question marks around that, you know, and we know Faf can do what Sanele do at 9 and 10, because we've been seeing him at training sessions, seeing him play for Sale Sharks there, and I mean, he played for us in the World Cup, so, yeah, we've got so many great scrum offs, and I actually think with Jaden being injured now, Kobus Reinig is playing really, really well for Montpellier as well. We've got 4 or 5 fly-offs now here currently, and it depends, you know. If things goes well, then one can. Not that I say Portugal will be easy in Bloemfontein. We see what they did to Fiji, so but we'll certainly pick our games where we blood some youngsters, and for me, Sanele is almost not a youngster. He's a guy that's been around the block. Him and Jaden was together in the junior Springboks. He can play 9 and 10 now, so he's definitely somebody that's versatile, and 1 or 2 injuries, and a guy like him might be pulled up. But yes, I can't say now what we're already going to do, because I'm not quite sure. We first must see how does the guys go against Wales. That we build momentum. Are we going in the right direction? Then it's a home series against Ireland, which win is paramount, like all test matches. And then a Portugal test match become are the squeeze on us, or are we a bit out of the pressure zone, if I can call it that way. And that will certainly have an influence on our selection.
Russ, just you picked 3 locks. Eric is obviously going to become available at some point, but Ruth and John, are you maybe a bit thin then, or have you got other plans for Benjamin?
No, we are a bit thin, but you know, Salman has been pushing really hard always. Again, a guy who's coming from a junior Bokke, being captain there, and always when it's his turn, there's just a bad injury, you know. So he would have been a real contender going to the World Cup last year, but then he got that long-term injury. He's looking really good, typical front lock type of, and with him and Ergie and Eamon being solid front locks, and we know Sous can call, and Ergie can also call at 5, which he did. Definitely, you know, 1, 2 of the Bulls guys would be lovely to see how it goes this weekend against Leinster, who forms a big part of the Irish team, and that might definitely sway us in that direction. And then obviously you've got Pieter Stevens-Toy, who can easily slot in for you at the 5 lock and can call the lineouts. But I agree with you. I remember when it was Jean Klein, Ergie, Louet, all of those guys last year, just being in the huddle. The huddle was much taller than it's currently. So, but we're looking at that.
Coach, with all of these new players coming in, 12 of them, what for them to have a long-term future in the Springboks, what do you want from them? What are you expecting from them? And what are you looking at specifically for them to stay in the team?
Yeah.
For Ireland and Rugby Championship.
Yeah. Everyone is different, you know. A guy like Edwell, for example, now with the way he's training and the way he's putting up his hand, and the moment if he'll start feeling comfortable and safe in the environment and can be himself and within our systems, you know, do things that other players can't do. Like Cheslin, we pulled him in cold 5 days before New Zealand Test match, and he just slotted in. These boys have now a chance to have been at alignment camps, virtual, in person at Cape Town, and now having a full camp week and next week a Test match week. You know, it's all about how quickly they understand, how quickly they don't have to think too much. Things come naturally, so that the reason why we pick them is they've got something about them, and that's what we see, or which is different from other players which we did not pick, that we want to see come through, whilst feeling settled and being themselves in the environment. And that's also up to our coaches to help them to bring to the party what they have, and that's what I hope to see.
This is maybe a follow-up on what Morgan asked. Looking ahead at the Portugal test, which is still far away.
Yeah.
But how would you approach a test like that with a second-tier team, if you want to call it that? Do you want to bleed the youngsters there? Would it be a mix of experience with these youngsters? How would you approach that?
Yeah, I'm trying to say it in better words. You know, I think it all goes with momentum. When the previous times, remember we didn't have 2020s to build after 2019, but then we did have the next year, but it was the Lions series as well. But if the momentum is going with you and everybody's positive, and I can almost say the vibe around the Springboks from you guys, from the supporters within the camp, then it's easy to make some changes, and it's always a positive thing. So the first thing is, you know, if this Wales Test match goes well, one can say, okay, 6 or 5 of the guys made it really, and we've got them as bankers. And some of them might play themselves into the Irish series because some boys are not available yet, like the guys who play in the Premiership and in France, and then obviously the Bulls are not available currently. So yes, if everything goes to plan, not because we don't rate Portugal, but because we've got momentum and things goes well, then it's a good game to, I wouldn't say just throw in a lot of youngsters in there. I think still you'll have to have a good spine in there that helps those youngsters. But some of them might get experience now against Wales already. So I hope it makes sense. It's just how the momentum goes at that stage.
Of course, just looking at your Hooker situation, it seems like it's a healthy situation to have, especially when you have a player like Malcolm Marx coming back. But you also might want to give a player like Andrew Hooper an opportunity in the green and gold. How do you balance that between maybe giving an opportunity and also giving rugby to the legs of Marx, who hasn't played rugby since the injury was?
Yeah, I see the big thing is they train against each other, and sometimes our scrum sessions and mauling sessions and line-out sessions, we sometimes put each other under more pressure than we sometimes experience in games. So having them in training camp now, scrumming against Joseph, scrumming against Bongi, feeling Ox on this side, you know, feeling France on that side, you learn a lot, and you see a lot of the guys. So again, a guy like Grobbies, you know, he's been doing really well for the Bulls. You know, we even had Marco van Staden in the last 2 games of the World Cup. Helped us out there. Who I really think it's somebody, you know, where we can take sometimes a chance if we pick squads, because he really can fit in both those roles. But then again, there's a guy like Wessels from the Bulls who now is a very versatile prop and hooker, which bodes well for the future. When we look to 2027, I mean, there's certainly the names you mentioned, Andre Gouvend, Wessels, Grobbies, and a guy like Malcolm and those guys. So we were really thin last year when we got in that final game against at the World Cup. It looks pretty okay now.
Russ, just in terms of captaincy, obviously no CF next week, whether they're easy to be captaining for, but after
after you name that squad for Ireland, will you make an announcement on who's going to be the long-term captain, or kind of go game by game?
No, we will announce the captain. This week it will probably be, to be honest with you, inside the team, the captaincy is not such a big thing. Obviously, long-term permanent captain is something. But when we go into this World Test match without Sia, and without seeing if Sia comes without an injury back to South Africa, and we can assess him and see how he slots in and those kind of things. We have 2 weeks after the World Test match. But yeah, it will probably be Peter Steph or Eben. It can be Bongi, but then you might want to start Malcolm to manage his game time, so that if Bongi goes down in 10 minutes, Malcolm doesn't have to play a full 70 or something like that. So, but I must say the guys all are leading really well. The core of the group that's been with us for 4 years, they understand that there's youngsters around them. Everybody's coaching with us and helping with us. So we'll make that call on Sunday night after the Bulls game internally, and we'll announce a captain for Wales. But then when we announce the Irish squad after that, obviously we'll announce, and obviously a guy like Sia will be in the running if everything goes really well and is injury free and those kind of things.
That's my question.
Coach, just a question around the fact that a lot of teams will benchmarking against the Boks when they played this year.
Yeah.
Just to check where they are. How much pressure does it put on you to sort of like innovate the style of play, considering the fact that they know our strengths?
Yeah, look, luckily, I don't think people can keep beating that drum, because prior to 2019, everybody said nobody gave us a chance. And then prior to 2023, everybody said now the pressure is on you. So I think we're kind of used to that kind of pressure. Not that it makes anything easier. But the reality is, this is our reality. We know how hard we work and how hard we train and what we can do and what the potential of the players are, what the talent is, how we operate from within. So we can't control how motivated those guys are on that side. We can only control how focused, how ready, I guess that's one of the challenges. But it certainly makes the guys more edgy, more determined, because that's what will happen with the teams play against us. And even a team like Portugal, when I say even, it sounds like one almost want to say, obviously they're a tier 2 team, but beating Fiji is not a fluke. It doesn't happen if there is not a lot of good players in that team. And knowing my Portuguese friends in Bloemfontein, there'll be a lot of support there for them.
Coach, just to take us through the new relationships that you've had to build within your own coaching staff, Tony Brown there. What are they bringing to the party that's different? How is it going to change the approach, and has it already changed the approach of you guys coaching and the way you guys are possibly going to play?
Yeah, it's interesting when people ask us about chasing the sun too, are we giving too much away? Are we not giving too much away? Are we giving too much access or not? I think if you go and watch Chasing the Sun, you must know all the things that you showed there will definitely change. And the things that we didn't show will probably stay the same. No, I know Tony for a really long time. I coached him at the Stormers. I know he's the kind of guy and he did slot in really quickly. He played for the Sharks and for the Stormers. He knows South Africa. He knows how we think. And yes, you all saw what a guy like Felix did. And I mean, Felix, when I went to Munster, went straight from breaking his neck to being my assistant coach at Munster. I picked him. It was his first coaching gig. And when you see what a guy like that has, he's now got 2 World Cup titles. Now, Tony has experience that not a lot of guys have. And in a country, or in Japan, obviously, but also in New Zealand, who was probably who's still one of the top-ranked teams consistently. So he brings a lot of excitement, knowledge, and I think definitely opened some of our backline players' eyes and opportunities and utilizing opportunities. And then Jerry, again, I coached with him and Felix at Munster. He's a typical like Felix are. Hours and hours behind the computer, just like Jacques were, very much the same mold. But again, one or two things that's exciting about what he can bring to our defense system. The challenge is always how quickly can we bring all of those things together to work in a big test match. But very excited about those two. Also, Perry, who was the other analyst in France, who helped us out. Now he'll be with us from next week. He definitely also bring another dimension with Lindsay, who is our current analyst. And then Jacob Piper. I think having Pipes there for every training session, every scrum session, any line-out session, we're almost used to having a referee here who's last year could have still refereed the World Cup final. So I think the new people in the management team is definitely contributing in the way we wanted to.
Rassie, I know you weren't selecting for a tournament like you were for the World Cup.
Yeah.
You took one recognized fly to the World Cup and you got 5 in this squad. What's the thinking behind having that many? That's the first part. And then the second part is, was someone like Siama Suku as much of a sort of ball from the blue as it seemed to be for most of the rugby public?
Yeah, look, to the World Cup, you want to go and win the tournament. That's why, you know, we can go with 2 and hopefully Andre gets ready, and we always know there will be injury. I've never been to a World Cup where there hasn't been injury, and we always said if there was an injury apart from the front row, and by that I included the hooker, but then unfortunately Malcolm got injured, but we needed Andre in that World Cup. A tournament like that, you're there. It doesn't help you have 5 fly-offs there. Of course, only 3 can really play. You can only have 3 in a match day 23, where you can have a lot of 9s because it makes training more effective, and it's more effective for and productive your training sessions. Now, building towards 2027, we still have the luxury of have Andre here. You know, Gaza is injured, Damien is injured. But now, certainly now's the time to get the youngsters in. I know Sia's not that young, but Jordan and the other guys who's involved. Yeah, that's why they are pulled in now, because in a World Cup year, it just doesn't make sense to try a few fly-offs then if you can try them now in the next 2-3 years.
Rassie, this Welsh test is obviously, because it falls out the international window, very difficult in terms of logistics, player availability with our big European contingent, Bulls still being in the URC. But is it still a really nice experience for you guys? And is it something that you'll look to keep doing in the future? You know, maybe having one outside of the window where you can have more of the youngsters and more of a very core South African group involved, and at a neutral venue, you know, against other teams. Is it something you guys quite enjoy?
Yeah, we do. Look, at the end of the day, when the result is out, it was a test match. And like we won't have a couple of our players available for this match, I think the World also has 6 or 7 players that won't be available that plays in the Premiership. So, yes, you know, sometimes you get to this 2 weeks out from this test match and you think, maybe the Stormers go through, and the Lions go through, and the Bulls go through, and then you said, "Oh well, we'll have a squad for that." But then when you start dotting down the names, we just see that the depth that we do have in South Africa. I mean, there's really a couple of players who could have been here, and yeah, so we like this test match. It's a full-on test match. But even if the Stormers and the Bulls and the Lions were out, I think we still would have been able to put 25 or 28 players on that plane, because some players are just not picked because we can't train with 40 players, you know. But they're really, really good, and they're one injury away or one good performance away from making the squad.
Guys, we've got 5 minutes left, so if there's Afrikaans, we need to get it in now. If there isn't, then Steen, you can fire away. Afrikaans, we've got 5 minutes left. If you need Afrikaans, get it now, please, guys.
Rassie, just in Afrikaans, your sort of objectives for the upcoming testing as well. So what do you want to see?
Afrikaans, ja. Nee, ons wil graag wen. Natuurlijk elke keer is ons momentum bou. Ek dink waar Jackie span laas jaar opgehou het met die wêreldbeker. Ek dink wat was hy 1 verloor of 2 verlore. So ek dink ons is op 'n goeie plek, maar altyd na 'n wêreldbeker wil ou dat volgende jaar ons hier so soort van 'n kickstart hê, 'n runstart hê en ons het dit nie gehad in 2020 nie met COVID. En hierdie jaar hoop ons regtig dat ons game kan develop, want in 2021 was die Leeu's hier so en toe sit weer cutthroat, jy moet die Leeu's toetrek wen, so bly maar baie binne jou boksie en try doen wat werk vir jou en wat jy weet wat werk vir jou. So ons sal graag klein goedjies wat ons dink ons kan beter doen en dan is daar 'n paar groot veranderinge wat ons ook wil maak. So hopelik die alignment kampe wat ons gehad het en die fisiese kamp nou in die toetsweek volgende week, sien ons van die goed wat ons regtig hard aan gewerk het deurkom en sien ons van die nuwe spelers en die ou spelers hoe vinnig hulle daarbey kan aanpas en ook hulle eie X-faktor of wat hulle ook al gekies het op kan wys in die toetsie en alles.
Rassie, hoe groot terugslag is dit om die op die eerste toetsreeks vir Currie te verloor en dalk in die eerste toets nie vir Jason Colby te kan kies nie?
Maar Kane en Moody is ook nog daar so as jy hom wil tel en ek dink as jy weer aan die ander kant toe kyk en jy sê jy's like maar hier is maar Pimpie, you know. En as ek sien hoe Ed wil oefen en jy dink jy's like Vasie kan ook nog vir jou wing speel en jy sien maar Jessie dalk baie vir ons wing gespeel, dan maak dit jou so half gerus want ek dink ons kon in 'n erger posisie gewees het om in dieselfde posisie beserings te kry nie, maar ons is nog steeds okay. En dit laat ons half gerus voel as ou kyk na 2025, 26 en 27. So natuurlik is daar nog 2 seer kry, dan sal ou ander planne moet maak en selfs nou van die junior bokke moet kry wat regtig hulle hand opsteek. En dan is daar 'n paar manne wat wel so ongelukkig was om nie ingetrek te word nie. So dis hoekom ek sê ek dink ons diepte is regtig goed. En weet as die Bulls Saterdag teen Leinster perform, wie ook al vir hulle wing speel en wie ook al vir hulle fullback speel en dan beteken dit daar's iets regs daarso. Dan kan ons daai manne ook kyk. So aan die een kant bietjie nervous, maar aan die ander kant so halwe gerusheid vir die volgende stretch, as ek dit so kan.
That's sorry, yeah. I hate to be the one to point it out, but you and Jacques are in the same city at the same time. Has there been a quiet conversation about maybe what he may or may not have learned in Ireland?
No, I will never do that to him. We are planning to try and with the whole coaching team and our coaching team. It's not a, how can I say, they're playing against the Bulls, you know. So we'll try and catch up and have supper or BO2. But that will purely be to catch up, you know. He's with his coaches and we with our coaches and he's coaching Leinster now. And, you know, there will never be in our lives taking a chance like that, him losing the trust that the Leinster guys have in him. We will never put him in that position. And the same, the other side around. But, yeah, always a close friend, for sure.
Was het dus in Afrikaans op die kapteinskap voor Wallis en voor Ierland?
Ja, die kapteinskap teen Wallis, ons sal seker Sondag intern, wat dit sal iemand soos Bongie of Pieter Steff of Eben wees. Weer eens, ons kyk maar net hoe gaan vandag se oefening nou goed gaan, niks beserings gekry nie. As môre se oefening goed gaan, niks beserings nie, dan kan ons Sondag aankondig, ja, intern, maar dit sal seker Bongie of Pieter Steff of Eben wees, een van daai 3. Partykeer sien ou so toets ook as 'n geleentheid om die obvious ene seker Eben of omdat Bongie en Malcolm miskien helfte gaan speel. Maar ander kere is ou Pieter Steff 'n game soos dit ook gee hom weer 'n nuwe experience, iets wat hy vorentoe kan dra en vorentoe kan uitkom in sy game, want ek dink hy's amper nou die ultimate 7 flank wat jy wil hê in die span en as jy miskien.
Hello everybody and welcome to Between Two Fans and some breaking news. Dan Scott has officially left the podcast for this week. In case you're looking at why he's looking a little bit better shaved, and in fact, I think you're actually the same age, to be fair. So it's a nice replacement to have. Mr. Alistair Block, how are you?
No, I'm good, Stevie. It's a pleasure to be on the show today, bro. Thanks for the invite. I'm glad that Dan's busy gallivanting there in Italy, giving me a chance to show him how to actually make some predictions. So, yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who expect to see Mr. Dan Scholz, he is currently in Sicily. It's a tough life out there, and he's experiencing some genuine third world problems in his first world country with the lack of Wi-Fi. And as such, we've had to bring in the big guns. So we do have Mr. Alistair Block, who, for a bit of background, is an Arsenal supporter for his sins, is a Shark supporter for his sins, and even more so for his sins is also a Springbok, a Proteas supporter, and then Springbok supporters. That's where we really sort of we get one back. That keeps us sane. Right.
Yeah,
so
I think but the Sharks, but Arsenal, you guys are missing some quality on the show, some support.
Well, at least the Sharks coming in with a trophy. I suppose it's about the only thing that they contribute towards the season so far. But before we get stuck in, we'll update the listeners on the predictions. So every week, myself and Dan make predictions, and we've got a running total. And we have said the first one to get to 15, we'll have to do a episode of podcast in a rival jersey. So, for example, Dan in like United jersey, Stephen in Arsenal or Liverpool jersey, and the likes. The score was about at one stage, Steve had a massive lead. Dan has been clawing it back slowly but steadily. It was 9-8 coming into this episode. So let's just go through that before we then chat about a bit of rugby. So we had 3 predictions last week. It was Northampton versus Bath, Glasgow versus Stormers, and the Proteas versus the Netherlands. First up was Northampton versus Bath. I said Bath by 5. Dan went Saints by 3. Bath losing that 25 points, 21. So Saints claiming that the English Premiership, they were the best side all season. So very deserved. So Dan does take that one. I was really hoping to see Finn Russell clutch up that red card, potentially a bit of a game changer. So Dan gets 1 there. But Glasgow versus Stormers, I said Glasgow by 6. Dan said Stormers by 3. He went with his heart, and it was a poor decision. They ended up losing by 17. So I grab a big dub there by virtue of going with my Glasgow. And then we went Proteas versus Netherlands, and Steve says by 30 runs or 5 wickets. Dan said 40 runs or 7 wickets. It was a 4-wicket victory by the Proteas. So Steve has stemmed the flow, taken a 10 points to 8 lead, and Dan's going to have no say about what happens next week as well, because he has a proxy in the form of Alistair, who will be holding those predictions at the end of the show. So I'll no pressure, because Dan was making a nice comeback, but I don't know, 11-8 suddenly becomes a bit ominous. So I hope you're ready for it.
No. Not to worry, Dan. I got you. I want to see Steve in an Arsenal shirt as much as you do on this show. So this week's predictions, I got you down, my boy. Don't stress.
I think my biggest worry is more the fact of trying to find an Arsenal shirt that might actually fit me. It's going to be very sort of tight shirts out here, which I don't think is what the viewers want to see. That might have to be a genuine podcast episode. But let's get into some ruggers, because we had the URC quarterfinals last week. And we'll go through the games here. Munster beating Ospreys 23 points to 7. Bulls winning 30 points to 23 against Benetton. Leinster beating Ulster 43 points to 20. The only sort of real blowout win there. And Glasgow beating Stormers 27 points to 10. Before we get stuck on some of the individual ones, a fair reflection, I suppose, of the table, in that all the home sides won, and the top 4 are indeed our top 4. So do you think we genuinely now have our top 4 best sides in the URC in the semi-finals this weekend?
Well, the Sharks aren't there, so no, I'm kidding. The Sharks were awful this season. But, looking at it, Steve, I think so. I'm disappointed not to see Stormers there, given that in the past few seasons they've been winning their quarterfinals, getting to the semis, getting to the finals, even winning the whole thing. First time the South African teams were there. But Glasgow this season, particularly towards the latter half, have just been immense, and they deserve to be there, top 4, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think let's sort of stuck into some of the individual games there. So Bulls versus Benetton, I think, is one I want to talk about, because of the Bulls, who have been running in tries for fun and looked really good, struggled a little bit in this game, which I think sort of shows you how playoff rugby can be quite predictable. I think if they were away, I think Benton could have done the job. But what do you sort of put that down to? Do you think a bit of nerves for the Bulls? I mean, obviously missing a couple of key players in the likes of no Kane Moody, no Currie Lawrence, who's injured last week and stuff. But it looked nervy from the Bulls. What do you reckon was the cause of that?
Yeah, look, you can never ride off Benetton, Steve. Those guys have been pretty immense the whole season. Particularly at home. Away, they've been strong as well. I mean, look, they did themselves, I don't want to say a disservice by beating the Sharks, because obviously that got them into the quarterfinals, but that win away at the Sharks was really good. Bulls themselves, you never know. Like you say, playoff rugby, it's intense, it's unpredictable. Can't say that the Benetton team wasn't used to the heat from what Dan's Instagram stories are saying. It's looking quite hot and nice there in Italy. So, yeah, I think it's also just could be a thing of Bulls perhaps underestimating their opponents. Italian team coming over, a bit of jet lag. Well, I don't know if jet lag's the right term, but certainly being tired from all the travel they've done in the past few weeks could have been a factor. But, yeah, it was nervy for the Bulls there, but they got the job done. Only South African team left, and I hate to say it, but I'm backing them all the way.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the Bulls, for me, this season, they've scored a lot of points, but their defense has been a bit leaky, and they're playing against Leinster this weekend, which is a side that scores points for fun, really. I mean, putting 40 points past Ulster in the playoff game. Maybe also a little bit leaky in the fact that they can see a 20, but yeah, I think going into this game before we sort of talk about Glasgow and Munster, do you think is it safe to say that'll be the difference? If the Bulls are to pull off the spectacular and knock Leinster out, they're going to have to sort the defence out.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't think it helped them losing Currie in, was it like the 29th minute or so, and he had already scored 2 tries at that point. And Currie is immense on defence, Steve. People think, he's a small guy, but he brings Oaks down. Leaky defense could be an issue for them. But, yeah, look, the Bulls' attacking threat we've seen throughout the season has been wild. Even though they're shipping like 23 against Benetton in the quarterfinal, and I think a couple of weeks before that they shipped 35 against them at home in the league stages, the group stages rather. But then they went on to put 56 on Benetton in that game, put 40 on Glasgow, 61 on Ospreys, 40 on Stormers. Their attack is excuse me, it's really effective. But against a team like Leinster, however, or Ireland, that's effectively who they're playing, that leaky defense right might really be a problem, particularly if they play the way they did against Benetton. Leinster won't be so forgiving.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I think both teams as well. I think it's going to be. It could potentially be a high scoring game. Considering that there were 50 points at Loftus last week, there were 60 points plus in Dublin. So potentially a high scoring game, which could create a bit of a thriller. I suppose both teams will be backing themselves to score some points. Glasgow beating Stormers. Before we talk about their chances against Munster, let's just talk about the Stormers a little bit about a disappointing performance. Martin Liebach boot not quite on song. The Stormers sort of maybe not quite where they needed to be. The Stormers have had a lot of success in playoffs in the last few years. They've had back-to-back finals, but that home advantage has always been such a big thing. Do you think you put it down to that sort of a way, the 4G pitch, the conditions, stuff like that? Are Stormers, is it unfair to call them sort of home bullies?
I don't know if it's unfair to call them that. You and Scotty spoke about it last week. Stormers away, their travel form has been shocking. I think the only South African team that actually travelled really well was the Lions, who unfortunately couldn't continue to show that travel away form, getting pipped to 8th place by the Ospreys of all people. But
yeah, not happy.
Yeah, no, I understand. But Stormers away on a 4G pitch. South African teams on a 4G pitch, always looking a little bit dicey. Glasgow really turned up. It was a bit of an interesting first half, that quite low scoring until 60th minute when Concilier and Fencer got over the line. It was looking really close, but ultimately that Stormers away form just showed in the quarterfinal. They weren't up for it.
Yeah, no, a word about Martin Liebach, for example, it's always such a tricky one to talk about, but he missed borderline everything last week. I think he basically did miss everything.
Mm-hmm.
A difficult conversation to have, but do you think this is something that the Stormers need to now start basically embracing and almost sort of saying, listen, we know that his goal kicking is very inconsistent, that he has his days and he can have his off days. You know, do you think this is something they need to, like, you know, looking ahead, even maybe in a Springbok point of view, that you've got to look at, if he plays, you have to have a potential second goal kicking option, and you know, how do you think you negotiate that?
Well, from a Springbok point of view, we saw the door. Sia Masuku's in, and
yeah, does Hanjay Pollard know about this? Yeah.
Yeah, look, for the Stormers, it's dicey. Me not being a Stormers fan, I'm not actually sure what other goal kicking options they have. And look, I don't want to be a Mani hater. I love the guy. He has made clutch kicks for the Stormers in playoff games before. He's won them a URC title. If we're talking purely kicking, yeah, it's different because you can't judge Mani solely on his kicking. His infield play is just crazy, which is why it's difficult to consider him only as a kicker. But when it gets to those clutch moments in the playoff game and Mani's not on song, you are going to need a backup kicker to make those clutch kicks. And for the Stormers, I'm not quite sure who's going to step up and do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I suppose, you know, Damian Willems, you know, can be an option when he plays, but he's also, you know, not been known for his goal kicking. When Sasha Femi-Ngomazulu is playing, he's got a very good percentage. Apparently, he had a bit of a niggle this last weekend, which prevented him from taking it. But I think it is a genuine bit of a problem for the Stormers because when he's on song, as you say, you know, what he does in the sort of the general field is untouchable. But he did leave out about 15, 16 points last week, which does change the entire sort of complexion of the game. Now, Glasgow Warriors, though, they're my second side when it comes to the URC. Love watching them play. They're up against the current champions. Are we giving them a chance this weekend?
Glasgow against Munster. Look, I'd love to see them do it, but I just can't see them getting it done. Munster are too strong. They're going to get the job done.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, so shorten.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but look, their last game that they played at Munster, they lost 40 points to 29, and last season's quarterfinal was also against Munster at home. They lost 14 points to 5. I know it's a whole season ago, but Munster have experience at this level in the tournaments. Glasgow, not so much. Am I not wrong in saying that this would be the first Scottish team ever to reach a final if they do? Which just shows that they don't have, you know, well, I'm not sure if they don't have the BMT, but they don't have the experience at this level that Munster do, particularly at Thomond Park, where they've been crazy good.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. I think Munster, you know, you got big band players in Munster. You know, Jack Crowley's becoming a world class fly half. You've got Chapito Marnie's, your Ty Burns, your Achis Neymans, for example, Simon Zebo, somebody's been playing really well in the last couple of games. So yeah, I do think it's those big players you can stand up, but from a South African perspective, it is a Carl Steyn captained Glasgow Warriors. So, you know, we want them to succeed. We want to see the product that we produce. Actually, in Gauteng, you know, so captaining the Glasgow Warriors, coached by South Africans as well, Franco Smith, plenty of South Africans there. So I'll definitely be rooting for Glasgow Warriors. It would also mean that should Glasgow Warriors beat Munster and Bulls manage to beat Leinster, it will be a Bulls home final. Where that final might take place, we still sort of remain to be seen because there could be issues with inaugurations and the likes.
Interesting chat that,
yeah, so you can see Orlando Stadium, for example, an F&B Stadium, an Ellis Park.
Well, Bulls have won Super Rugby at Orlando Stadium, so there's history there.
There's history there. Take it back to Soweto. I'll be interested to see how many. If they were to go to, for example, an F&B Stadium, I'd love to know how many tickets they could potentially sell. You know, could they put 50,000 people in that stadium for a URC final? The issue, of course, would be it's the same day as the Springbok game, so you know, timing would be everything. The Springboks do play Wales next week.
Yeah.
Right, so in terms of just a bit of an update, as mentioned, Northampton Saints beating Bath. So Beno Obano got a red card, which I think had a big impact on the game. But the nice news, for example, is Courtney Laws is send off. You know, GOAT player really for England and for Northampton. I mean, I think probably one of the ultimate players, isn't he? Just in terms of unassuming, very quiet, gets to his work. But I think it's something like, you know, he's never received like something ridiculous about sort of his high tackle stats. You know, like how many tackles he's made and never like been penalised for a high tackle or something. He's just one of the ultimates, isn't it? When you talk about players who you're sort of, you don't maybe are always in the headlines, but just you never really see them have a bad game. Courtney Laws is definitely one of those.
Yeah, look, I've always enjoyed watching him. Sticking to the rules and just like some other stats that he's had there at Northampton. He's played 282 games across 17 seasons for one club. That's talk about a one club man and a dream send-off for the guy. It's crazy to win I think it's only his second title. To do that in his last season, it's just it's a fever dream. Congrats to him.
And deserved. And he's going to a Pro D2 side next season, so very much going to a project team, the same side that has signed Cohen Bosch, which is going to be interesting to see what Breve do next season. Obviously, big ambition there down the Pro D2 to be signing sort of players of that kind of caliber. Then looking ahead, before we talk about the big rugby news, Super Rugby semi-finals this weekend. We've got the Blues up against the Brumbies on Friday, tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We've got Hurricanes versus Chiefs at 6:30 on Saturday. So, Al, are you keeping an eye on the Super Rugby? Have you been keeping an eye on the Super Rugby? Do we have any sort of favours to what we were hoping to see this weekend?
Yeah, look, I've been keeping an eye on the results happening. I haven't been watching much of the rugby except when, Moana Pacifica and Fiji Drew are playing because those guys, they just bring the flair, Steve. I enjoy watching them. Particularly when they're playing in Fiji as well. The fans, those guys are crazy. And look, credit must be given to Fiji and Drua as well. These guys put in a big shift when they play. It's only, I think, their third season in Super Rugby, finishing 11th in their first season and now 7th 2 seasons in a row, making the quarterfinals. Of course, they got pretty pumped by the Blues. But making it to the playoffs, it's impressive. They play some attractive rugby when it works. It's true Fijian flair. No, I love it. But other than that, I've not been watching much Super Rugby since we left. I think the quality of Super Rugby is seriously deteriorated, without the South African quality there. But interesting tournament nonetheless. Should we go through these results here, Steve?
Yeah, so last weekend, Chiefs beating Reds 43 points to 21. Very much sort of setting the standards. Hurricanes hammering Rebels 47 points to 20. Blues beating Fiji and Drew at 35 points to 5. And then Brumbies beating the Highlanders 32 points to 16. So Brumbies very much the Australian hopes and dreams of rugby. And it's been an interesting week for Australian rugby because the Melbourne Rebels have officially gone under. They will no longer be involved. Always a bit of a weird kind of franchise, but obviously massive for Melbourne to lose the rugby. But also massive news is Carter Gordon has made the switch to NRL, following the likes of Wase. Not all things not well in Australian rugby, eh?
Yeah, look, no, this whole Melbourne Rebels fiasco is ridiculous, Steve. That's Australian rugby. They rejected a business rescue deal for rescuing the Rebels from a wealthy consortium. From what I've seen. And given where Australian rugby are right now, they need their best players to continue playing rugby union. The Wallabies are in an absolute shambles at the moment, losing the likes of Carter Gordon and Mark, whatever the man's surname is. Don't ask me to pronounce it.
Now, what do you to what I say? It just takes a couple of practices.
Losing them to league is really not good for Australian rugby. And that's a whole franchise down the drain. It's a sad thing as well, given that the Rebels was their first time ever in a playoff game in their 11, 12-year history. They made it to the quarterfinals for the first time, and now all of a sudden, Rugby Australia just like, cheers, Oaks, you're gone. Sorry.
First and last.
Yeah. Shame. No, it's a shame. I'm not happy with it.
Yeah, it's so tight. I mean, you got a British and Irish Lions series next year. You got a World Cup in 2 years' time. This was supposed to be the regen of Australian rugby, and unfortunately, with the administration issues, that's been under a lot of pressure. A lot of people have called them out. But you talk about two players who were supposed to be part of the spine of Australian rugby for many years to come. Noah Alessio, Carter Gordon, I mean, they were going to be fighting out for 10 the next few years. Mark Nawangui-Tawase, I mean, I watched him at the World Cup. He's a special player. So to be losing those kind of players is everything you can't afford to do. And I think it kind of shows you exactly how Australian rugby is in such a precarious position where if they don't get the right decisions and they don't start making the big decisions, then I think, the Wallabies are going to be down to almost tier 2 nation in a few years' time if they don't be careful, which is sad to see because from a Australian perspective, we want to play against a decent Australian side. They've got so much history. They've won a World Cup. you know.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to see Australia just going down the drain. We can't speak too early because obviously they are hosting the World Cup in 2027, 2.5 years from now. But you know, it would just be a damn shame to see them hosting the World Cup and crashing out in the group stages or just being, you know, non-competitive at all. Like you said, I really enjoy seeing a competitive Australia in the Rugby Championship. It can't just be us and New Zealand as the only powerhouses in the South. You know, we've been carrying the South for too long now. It's time for Australia to really pick their socks up. And it's not happening. Rebels going under, results not going Australia's way on the field when they do play, on and off the field, really. It's a shame to see, Steve.
Yeah, right. Well, whilst the Wallabies disintegrate, the Springboks are growing, and we have our first ever Springbok, first Springbok squad of the year, and lots of big decisions with 12 uncapped players, in fact, in the squad. So it was announced on Monday. If you have not seen the full squad, you can go check out a couple of the updates on the Ferris Sports channel. But in terms of the big names, some uncapped players, the likes of Netley Bashir, Ben Jason Dixon, Pepsi Buthelezi, all the uncapped forwards, as well as Peter Gomedi, who's been added to the side as well later. And then if you look at the backline players, Morne van den Berg, Ethan Hooker, Jordan Hendricks, Sia Masuku, Edward van der Merwe, Sasha Feinberg, Gomazulu, as well as Kwan Horn, all added there. 100 Pod, Jasper is currently with the squad, but unavailable for Wales. I mean, you mentioned Sia Masuku earlier, but there's some exciting players in the uncapped players that
those names you just read, they excite me, Steve. It's insane. These are uncapped Springbok players. You've got 12 of them there. And they've all got bright futures. The likes of, Pepsi's been knocking on the door for a while. Ben Jason Dixon, I have no clue who this oak was before the season started.
Yeah,
now you check him playing. They're at the Stormers. He's been absolutely killing it. Kieran Horn for the Lions. I don't want to say he's been the spine of their attack, but when you give that man the ball in space, you can almost expect a try between him and Lohamba, which I'm quite sad to see is not here, to be honest, Steve. I really think he deserves a spot. But the Oaks that have been called up, Bilo Gumede, Edward van der Merwe, Netley Bashir, Andre Hugo Fence excites me as well, Steve. It's really, our squad depth for the book is looking really, really good. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think this is just the initial squad that's particularly for the Wales series, right? Because I really would like to see the addition of the likes of Tyrone Green and Joano Augustus as well. But naturally, they're based in England. I'm not sure if their clubs are allowed to release them.
No. Yeah, so Regulation 9 specifies that they cannot be released outside the window. So that's why, for example, Jasper Wiese and Hodge Pod have been allowed to train, but they cannot play. Andre Esterhuizen can play because whilst he is still under contract at the Harlequins, he's obviously making the move to Sharks next season. So they basically said, we don't really care. Go forth and play. It doesn't affect us. You're not going to play for the Harlequins again. So whether Tyrone Green and Joan Augustus, for example, are on the radar, we'll wait and see, but there will be another squad announcement after that Wales test. So this is purely just for next week, basically. By the way, the team will be announced on Tuesday before the squad leaves on Wednesday to play at Twickenham on Saturday against Wales. All those uncapped players also... Sorry,
I'm so keen to see what that starting lineup's going to be because I can't even begin to make a prediction. And Rassi is always cooking, you know that.
Yeah, he's always got something to sleep. But so I mean, which of those uncapped players would you like to see in that 23?
Look, my biasness is going to come out here. I want to see Pepsi and Sia in the starting 15. But truthfully, Steve, especially now that we've got injuries to Curtly Arens, Chesley Colby's looking a bit shaky as well. I've heard he's back in the camp with the Boks.
Back in the camp, has not been cleared yet. But won't face Wales, but in a race against time for Ireland.
Yeah, but it does open the door for the likes of Edward van der Merwe to play against Wales. And he's a speedster. He is fantastic on attack. I'd like to see Kieran Horn in there as well, given that, Damien Phillips is out. Give him a shot at fullback, why not? And also, we need to see the likes of Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. We need to give him that Springbok cap just so we can tell England, hey, go away, you can't have him, he's ours.
Yeah, nice try, not happening.
Exactly. Which is also the same thing I wanted to see with the likes of Tyrone Green. Pull what Chelsea have been doing for years in the Premier League. Sign all the Oaks in the world just so no one else can have them. We must do that.
Just cap them. Just cap them. And if they don't play, they don't play. Cap them. Just be spiteful, you know.
Correct.
Yeah, but so yeah, we'll see that team named on Tuesday. Very excited to see. I think also obviously the big names like Malcolm Marks back in it. Sal Murat called back into that squad. He is capped, but the likes of a Ntuko Nkunu, for example, also back in the squad. So a couple of players who are capped but haven't played a lot of rugby at Springbok level, also including the squad. So expect to be a bit of a chase. Apele Fassi, for example, is capped but back in the squad. The other good news before we sort of move on to a bit of football is that the Currie Cup, by the way, if you have not seen, will go ahead. There is a new deal that has been put in place about the sort of the player welfare resting, and the core basics are as follows. It is a structured, individualized 8-week rest periods for all players with formal notice periods when such breaks are to be taken. There's an adoption of World Rugby player load guidelines, which are in finalization, a maintenance of a strict individual player load monitoring program, a broadened scope for the Joint Committee on Contracted Player Safety and Welfare, and utilization of the Emergency Committee to ensure effective implementation of the new arrangements, and adjusted travel arrangements for Vodacom URC EPCR teams from the 1st of July 2025. So we won't be seeing those sort of long haul flights. But for me, this makes sense. You know, I think, you know, it was when I was looking at the initial issues, and you're thinking that we can't have a Currie Cup because basically they're all saying that all the players have to rest at the same time. Seems a bit rudimentary. You know, these are professional athletes; they do need to rest, stuff like that. But why can we not say, all right, cool, you know, you've had a bit of an injury, you come back, you start playing in January, you can keep playing for another 2 weeks, two months in the Currie Cup, and then we will give you, you know, October, November, we'll give you 6 weeks off here and 2 weeks off here, and you know, in terms of, well, they have to be 8-week rest periods, whether they're all going to be officially taken all the time. I mean, don't you think it's just a bit, you know, it seemed like it was just a bit, basic to sit there and say, cool, well, you know, they just have to all rest at the same time, where, you know, it should be so much more fluid, you know. Some players are playing 80 minutes every single week. Some players are playing 20 minutes, you know, and you can't treat these players exactly the same.
It is a bit simplistic, Steve. They're not considering the reality of it as well. I mean, especially when there's lots of players not getting time, and something that, like, I really would have liked to have seen at the Sharks as a Sharks fan. I mean, it's a shame that he's leaving, but Apiwe Janchi got very little game time this season for the Sharks. I would have liked to have seen him go get some confidence back in the Currie Cup team and then come back next season and, you know, kill it at the Sharks. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen, and now he's going to be scoring hella points at the Bulls, you know. Maybe he's just a Gauteng-based good player, because, you know, he was killing it at the Lions a couple of years ago, and let's see if he can do it at the Bulls. But anyway, back to the Currie Cup, Steve. It's nice to see that they're having a focus on player welfare and load monitoring, but the way they're approaching it with everyone resting at the same time, I think is just impractical, and it feeds into the issue that we've seen for the Currie Cup for many, many years now, is that the best players will not be playing. It sucks, because back when we were kids, Steve, we would turn on the Currie Cup and you'd get Schalke Burger busy mauling for Reed Dupree, you know. It was epic rugby, and stadiums were full. And the Currie Cup has lost that magic, and this is really not going to help everyone resting at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think you know, the reality is we currently still do have a dual schedule, with being Northern Hemisphere for local, Southern Hemisphere for international. You know, we're not an Ireland, for example, who will play out that 2-match test series, and mid-July they will not play rugby again in September. You know, so those players who are not going to South Africa, for example, you know, the likes of an Ulster, their season's done. Connacht, their season was done 2 weeks ago. So if you play for Connacht and you finished 2 weeks ago, you know, you can now have your 8-week period rest, which would have started on the 2nd of June. You can then, your 8 weeks will then finish in July. You know, by August, you are ready to get back into preseason, mid-season URC. It becomes easy. You know, even the internationals, for example, they'll play until the 2nd week of July. Their rest period will start, say, for example, Sunday, the 14th of July. They can have that 8 weeks and be done by about the end of August. And by the end of September, they can start playing URC again and have that 8-week rest. So it's very easy for the Northern Hemisphere side. It's very easy for your Australian, New Zealanders, for example, who will play the Rugby Championship, finish in September, you know, and you can have a full October off before in autumn internationals, and then they've got that full December, basically January off as well. So there's those gaps. We don't have those gaps, and I think it was just far too, as you said, simplistic. And I mean, if this is just logical, I don't understand why this is even like became a big thing. Surely you just sit there and say, right, well, we know this is not going to work. How do we make it work? Because, you know, you can't lose the Currie Cup, but we can't have players playing 12 months every year as well.
well, Steve, we need to consider maybe the Oaks sat down and made these rules are probably like Cheetahs or Griquas fans, because it really works well for them. If the other teams top playing or resting and not playing, Cheetahs just absolutely kill the Currie Cup win, and Pumas as well. Can't forget them. Normally the three small teams, Griquas, Cheetahs, Pumas. I don't want to be disrespectful, of course, but the non-URC teams, when the URC teams players are not there, they just walk the Currie Cup, and it's good to see them do that. But I would like to see a level of competition and excitement with the top players playing like that back in the day when we were kids. I miss that.
Yeah, and I think also the new format, of there being two groups now, and you play everybody in your group twice before playing everybody else in everybody else in the other group once. So it reduces the games from what would have been about 16 games, I think it was, or 14 games. You're going to be playing about 10 games now. So there are fewer games as well. So you are reducing the player workload. I think also reducing the length of the tournament will keep it a bit more exciting. Me and Dan have got the ongoing joke about how the IPL lasts about 4 months and you kind of just get over it. So I think having it a bit more compact makes it a bit more exciting as well, especially during Springbok season where we don't have a lot of rugby in the weekends. We can all sort of pivot around one game. So it's nice to have that. If the Boks are playing in Australia and you're playing at 7 o'clock, by 9 o'clock your rugby's finished. No, you've got Currie Cup in the afternoon. It's going to be good Currie Cup as well. So very, very cool to see that they have sorted that out. And looking forward to the Currie Cups. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Alistair, we've got some football coming up in the Euros, the European Championship. One of my favorite tournaments. There's always drama in the Euros. There's always big upsets. There's Iceland beating England. There's teams going on runs. And from a club perspective, there's always those players that, for example, pop up. Locatelli last tournament, nobody knew who he was. Came through, had the phenomenal tournaments. People grab name. So that all kicks off tomorrow night. Germany versus Scotland, or tonight by the time this comes out. This will be out on tomorrow morning. Germany versus Scotland. Scotland, that powerhouse nation, being led by the likes of Scott McTominay, Andy Robertson, McGinn, those GOAT players. Germany will be Tony Kroos's last sort of send-off. Other fixtures, however, look on Saturday. Hungary versus Switzerland. Spain versus Croatia on Saturday, 6 o'clock. That's probably the game of the weekend.
Huge game.
That is the one we're going to be doing our predictions for. You've then got Italy versus Albania on Saturday night. Poland versus Netherlands on Sunday. Slovenia versus Denmark. Serbia versus England. England, one of the most talented squads they've got under Southgate. He's under a lot of pressure. Romania versus Ukraine on Monday. So very, very cool games. Al, do you have a team? I mean, who do you sort of pin your colours to for the Euros?
Yeah, look, I've got a bit of family heritage based in Germany. So I've been supporting Germany my whole life just because my grandmother's German. It was really good back in 2014, but since then, not much to shout for as a German fan, Steve. But, Oaks are hosting the Euros this year. Who knows? Anything can happen. Look, truthfully, my money's on England. I think they are well due a major trophy, and they've been knocking on the door for a while now. But for Harry Kane's penalty miss in the World Cup and, losing the final shockingly to Italy a couple of years ago. And also, it's Southgate's got one more chance, I feel. And if he doesn't do anything this time, he's gone. And he knows that. So
he's always such a polarizing figure, isn't it? Because everybody talks about how negative the football is, for example. They often play three at the back. But he's gotten to a World Cup semi-final. He's gotten to a Euros final. So he's been quite close to success. So, I think it'll be amazing to see what his legacy will be, because so many people are so ready to get him out, and they say, they don't play to their ability and stuff like that. If he does win the Euros, he looks back on his tenure, and it's been a successful tenure. It's difficult one, isn't it? Because he's such a down-to-earth person, says all the right things, I think genuinely cares. He's quite a refreshing type of personality, but the football has not, represented the talent and attacking talent that England have. And I'm an England fan, having a British passport and all, and my mother was born in England, so much like you, I've got sort of family heritage there. So we are very much due, whether we'll get there. Any sort of dark horses you reckon that are worth watching out for?
I'm not sure if you can call Croatia a dark horse anymore.
Yeah, no, they talk some good things for you if they're a dark horse.
Yeah, you know what, Steve? Yeah, look, you can't. The France have been relatively underwhelming, but they're too big to be called a dark horse. Truthfully, Steve, I think we always need to look out for the likes of the Portugal. Nobody ever really expects them to win or get far,
Ronnie,
but they can
right off,
surprise you.
Ronnie.
Can never do so. I mean, every time there's a global event like a Euros or a World Cup, I think surely it's his last tournament, and it never is. And he keeps coming back. He's 45 years old with the body of a 22-year-old, you know.
And scoring goals. I think he scored 2 in the friendly the other day.
Yeah. He's a tank.
No, he is. I think other teams probably. I mean, like, your Austrias, for example, your Polands, Belgium, for example, for me have largely underperformed. They were once the number one side of the world, but have yet to really sort of show that on the national stage in terms of getting to finals. I think that there are teams. I mean, Netherlands, for example, we haven't seen the Netherlands being as strong as we probably like them to be. So, I think we've got an interesting Euros ahead. So, in terms of the sort of the scheduling for the Euros, it's also pretty short and sweet. To be fair, we've got basically 3 weeks of round robin games. First game starts on the tomorrow, the 14th of June. That final round robin game on the 26th. So it's basically almost 2 weeks on the dot. Round of 16 on the 29th. The final schedule for the 14th of July. So the entire thing wraps up in a month.
It is ideal on a Saturday and a Sunday. You got your 3 o'clock, your 6 o'clock, your 9 o'clock game. Sit down in the afternoon and just spend the rest of the day watching footy. It's a wonderful thing.
Your weekday, you get home for 6 o'clock game, the 9 o'clock game. It is from a fan perspective. It's so easy to watch because it's just always there. You just get home and you just put on the footy.
Yeah,
there's nothing better. Maybe that's why I actually love it so much, because it's so accessible. It's so easy to watch and to get involved in it, because the timing just works out so nicely from a staffing perspective.
That's trouble though, Steve. I reckon my Betway is in trouble here. So many games happening in such a short period of time.
We're going to see some accumulators there. So next time we see El, he's either going to be like an HD camera mic in a podcast studio, or he's going to be broadcasting out of his car for like a weird 200 rand little smartphone, trying to pay the debts there.
Yeah, correct. Most likely the latter. My bets have not been going well recently.
Well, speaking of bets and favourites and things going or not going well, South Africa, the Proteas are currently sitting top of their log. No issues, whatever. Basically, they've guaranteed their spot in the Super 8, which is the main thing. But I mean, we're seeing ridiculous cricket, aren't we? I mean, defending 113 against Bangladesh on Monday. Netherlands, chasing down 106, but in the 19th over, with David Miller, classy 59 of 51, having to get us over the line. Let's talk a little bit about first of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room, this New York pitches even, the games in the States. For a tournament which is supposed to be really promoting the game, getting Americans in, it's becoming a difficult sell, isn't it?
Well, Steve, for a proper cricket fan, I'm not so sure it's difficult to sell it to real cricket fans. To the general person in America that's used to watching baseball, I'm sure they would love to see, just hit, bash, smash, 200 runs plus. But as a genuine cricket fan, Steve, I think it's a breath of fresh air to see a pitch that offers something for the bowlers, and where low-scoring games
something I think is putting it very kindly. There's snake pits out there. There's snakes to the grass.
Yeah, look, Steve, I don't know. These low-scoring games have been absolute thrillers. The point where you're scoring 120 and it's enough, where you might not even defend 100. You score 90 and you're wondering, like, is it enough because of the snake pit of the level of the pitch? It's been crazy watching these like second innings chases here, like with Pakistan scoring 113, chasing 119 against India. That was a crazy game to watch. And, we've become so accustomed and conditioned to these T20 games, particularly with the 7-year IPL that's just finished, where games were going up to 260, 270 on the red. It was disgusting. Yeah. It was disgusting, the scores that were being scored there. It's quite nice to see these low-scoring thrillers again. And but now that we're back in the West Indies, I think we're going to see not quite the 200 pitches, but, where 150,
160s,
160 becomes
180s, yeah. And I think that's for me. That's where I like to see. I like that 160, 170 type of game because there's still boundaries, excitement. But it's not silly. The boaters are still in it. But so I think those 200, 220, 240, I don't find much entertainment in that. I think it just looks like a hitting show. I would like to see. I mean, for example, I think. You're watching these 112 games and you're seeing like 2 sixes in the innings if you're lucky, and the outfields have been really slow, and so there is sort of there has been that which has been a bit disappointing. But speaking of disappointing, the Proteas top order have been awful, if we're being brutally honest. Reza Hendricks hasn't got past, I think, about 6 or 7. Quinton de Kock's not looked good. Aidan Markham hasn't scored any runs. Tristan Stubbs has been better, but the top 3 in serious trouble. I mean, it's a frustrating situation, isn't it? In that we've got basically a nothing game against Nepal on Saturday morning, so effectively tomorrow night. And Rob Walter's basically saying he's not going to change anything. I mean, I suppose he can't. These guys have to go out and try and score some runs going into the Super 8.
Yeah, Steve, look, I'm an advocate for Reza out, Rickleton in. I love Brian Rickleton. I don't think it's possible because we have to meet quota standards, of course. And without any disrespect to Reza, look, in the past 3-4 years, he's been immense. But it appears that he's just lost a bit of form. Those games before in the West Indies as well, and now in the World Cup. I mean, your Reza is batting just about as badly as Currie in this tournament. Never thought I'd say that. But but look, we are going. We played our first 3 games at Nassau in New York, where it was a snake bit of a pitch. I'm willing to give the opening batsman a pass for that. That was they were playing on we've seen school cricket played on better pitches.
Correct.
We're going to the West Indies now, where pitches have been actually in place for years, not set in the ground 2 weeks ago before the World Cup started. Shipped in from some dodgy Australian on a DHL plane, So real cricket's going to start now. Steve, we've won 3 out of 3. Sure, they were dodgy, not great to watch, but the win is what matters. We're in the Super 8, and we're going to take it from here. I back the top order. There's too much quality there to not succeed.
I think that. Right, and we are live. Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for semi-final number 2. Who will join the Bulls? That is the big news of the day. The Bulls beating Leinster at Loftus to book their spot in the URC final. The question is, will they be taking on Munster or will they be taking on Glasgow? We're about to find out. Play is about to get underway over at Thorne Park, and I'll tell you what, I think we're an absolute cracker of a game. So buckle up, get ready as we prepare to bring you the coverage as Munster take on Glasgow Warriors, and Crowley does get things underway going down that right-hand side. We have got kickoff of the second semi-final of the URC. We'll go through the teams in just a bit and get you nice and settled for the game to come. But before we do that, please do smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Go and go get your score predictions in. Let me know who you are supporting in the poll, and as well as what your score predictions are. How you think this game's going to go, and who you'd like to see in the final. So Munster obviously playing for a home final. That ball lifted up very high and taken almost very well by Kyle Steyn. There's a knock on early on by Glasgow Warriors. So we'll have an early set piece here. Just making sure that everything's sorted here as he's settling into things. Welcome to the stream if you're watching on YouTube. Also actually live on TikTok as well. Trying something with news. So welcome if you are watching on that platform. Trying different things here at Forever Sports. So welcome to the stream. Let's get settled in here, people. And I'll tell you what, still kind of sort of coming down really from that sensational game we've just witnessed down in Pretoria with the Bulls beating Leinster in an absolute masterclass, it must be said. I mean, so good from Jake White and his Bulls side. So, but now we turn our attentions to what's happening over in Ireland, and a bit of South African flavour across both teams. The likes of Kyle Steyn, South African born and raised, now playing rugby for Scotland, but some proud heritage there from a South African point of view. Captain the Glasgow Warriors, who are coached by Franco Smith. Henk Fenner coming up the bench as well. What a scrum that is for Munster. Goodness me, how's that for a start? And very nice early opportunity here as Haley comes around the outside. That's very nicely worked by Munster, who are looking to move back-to-back URC champions. And to do that, they'll have to beat the Glasgow Warriors before beating the Bulls. As Craig Casey goes on the left-hand side. Good hands there. Oh, great hands here. And there's a bit of space on that left-hand side for John Hodnett. Very nice start just from Munster. Nice good tempo as well. Penalty advantage early on as well here. What does Crowley do? Looking for a wraparound here. Popping it up here. Crowley going himself. Eventually brought down just for the 22. Solid work there by him. Now Ty Byrne, inside ball to Jeremy Lockman. Almost getting the ball through to Shane Daly, who's then tackled out the ball. And they'll go back for the penalty. Right, so they're going to have a shot goal here, or Munster. What are your score predictions? Put them down in the comments below. As I said, I want to know who you guys are supporting. At the moment, Glasgow Warriors actually seem to have more of a backing than Munster. Let's go through the team, shall we? For Munster in the front row, it is Jamie Lockman, Niall Scannell, and Stephen Archer. They are backed up by Feenan Wycherley and Ty Byrne, Peter O'Mahony, John Hodnett, Jack O'Donoghue. That loose trio. Craig Casey will partner Jack Crowley. He's busy lining up the first penalty of the day. Simon Zebo shifts from fullback to the wing. What a season he's having. Looking to bring his career down with a trophy as Crowley's kick shifts towards the right-hand side. Doesn't quite nail that one. Fullback at Mike Haley. In the centre, it is Alex Nankiville, Anton Frisch. Off the bench, it'll be Diamond Barron, John Ryan, and Ollie Jaeger. Arcus Snyman will be looking to make an impact next to Gavin Coombs, who I think has probably been the best player in the URC this season. Conor Murray, the experienced veteran, will come on in the number 21 jersey. Sean O'Brien, Alex Kendlin completing that Munster bench. As we go look to the Glasgow Warriors team, as they get down to the right-hand side off that 22, it is Jamie Batty, Johnny Matthews, and Xander Ferguson in the front row, with all three of those players involved in that tackle. In the second row, it is Richie Gray and Scott Cummings, Matt Ferguson, Rory Dodge, and Jack Dempsey. A bit of a turnover ball here as Hugh Jones nails the kick as well. If we're looking at that halfback pairing, it is George Horn, Tom Jordan in the halfback pairing, Carl Steyn, Sebastian Cancelera, Josh Mackay, the back three, Hupolotto, Insuno Tupolotto, and Hugh Jones in that midfield. Off the bench, it'll be George Turner, Ollie Cable, Murphy Walker, Max Williamson, Ewan Free, Henko Fenter, Jamie Dovey, and Ross Thompson. Right, let's settle in here. Defensive line here for Munster. Turnover ball from Glasgow, and they've done very well to pin Munster back inside the 22 as they go over the top. That's a terrible lineout, but it worked out brilliantly for Johnny Matthews on the front foot here. Now Glasgow Warriors living off the mistakes of Munster. Good carry that as well from Rory Dodge. Quick ball here. Jack Dempsey. Sorry, in fact, that's Matt Ferguson. Nice big loose trio that Glasgow have. Now, Tupolotto, he had a great game last week against the Stormers. Looking to have another one this week. Quick ball there for George Horn. Xander Ferguson in that scrum cap. We're so used to seeing him in now. Horn looking for options. Goes to Jack Dempsey. Good hands there. Tupolotto. Gets away from one. Tupolotto still going. Surely that's a high tackle. A penalty for Munster. I'll tell you what, very surprised that there was no high tackle there on Tupolotto. Looked like it was almost a seatbelt tackle. So, getting away with one there, I think, Munster, but that's a desperate penalty and a good one to win right on the touchline. It's a horrible line looking at that. And Johnny Matthews, well, Christmas came early for him, didn't it? And that's worrying times for Munster to have that kind of line of issues so early on. It's not the best kick over there, so Munster will not be out of danger just yet. They're only as far as just outside 22. Looking for a better feed this time from the Niall Scannell. He does nail the line this time and coming around and linking up with, that looks like Jack O'Donoghue. Craig Casey almost caught on the ball. Is caught on the ball, actually. Very good work that being done by Scott Cummings. Trying to turn over the ball here are Glasgow Warriors. They're throwing players into the ruck here. I don't know where this ball is, to be honest. George Horn's around there. He reckons he might have it. No, it is eventually back on the Munster side. And a penalty once again from Munster. I think it's hands in the ruck. In fact, from the side is the call there. Right, I'm just going to share the link on the socials, get some more people back in the chat. So if you are in the chat, as I said, let me know what your score predictions are. No points so far in the opening 10 minutes, which has been the case in the last game as well, that Leinster game. No quick starts in either semi-final just yet. So I think the entire South Africa will be supporting Glasgow Warriors here, because the Glasgow Warriors victory will mean that the URC final will take place at Loftus next weekend. Huge support, I think, a lot from the South Africans there. I mean, what a massive occasion that would be to have the URC final back in South Africa. That would mean all three URC finals, by the way, will have been in South Africa if the Bulls do host it next week. Stormers obviously going back-to-back home finals, winning the first, losing the second. What is good to see, though, from a South African perspective, is that we've had a South African team in every single final. It was an all South African final in the first year with Bulls and Stormers. Then Stormers last year, now the Bulls this year. So, yeah, 2 out of the 3 finals for both those unions. Front of the line. No, it's actually been stolen by Peter O'Mahony, who's not very happy. Gets the penalty. And he's going after a couple of the players. There's some 50 cups early on here. And the referee's going to have a word here. Just try and calm things down a little bit. Right, Crowley and I'll go into the corner. Thorman Park is absolutely packed. Well, not absolutely packed. There's a couple of standing seats available. Standing seats, you idiot. A couple of standing spots, I suppose. Jean Klein watching on, currently injured. Has renewed his contract, so will be at Munster next season. But currently out with injury and will not be available for the box either. Was such a key part of that Munster's winning season last season. The 30-year-old who turns 31 in August. I think will be part of the box plans moving forward, to be fair. I think it could be a penalty advantage there for Munster. Didn't quite manage to get down to the ground. It is a penalty advantage here. So a free roll of the dice. Craig Casey throws it to Jack Crowley. Crowley, long pass out. And wrapping around here. Almost under the arms there goes Nankerville. Now back to Jack O'Donoghue. Casey now having to try and help secure that ball. Big counter rucks. They'll go back for the penalty. Glasgow discipline. They need to be careful here. Have to be careful. Yeah, almost just taking a little bit of time to bring him down there, but not enough so that it was deliberate. And Carl Stein having a word with the referee. Right, once back in the tournament. Now Scanlon needs to hit his marker here. Munster looking to try and open the scoring. Now eventually the ball available. And goes back on the angle. I'll tell you what, that's a great run by Alex Nankerville. Just short on Munster. Advantage all sides against Glasgow. Discipline really starting to kill them. Just short there's John Hodnett. Quick ball from Casey. O'Donoghue has a go. Just short. And another penalty advantage. And surely Munster take the points, although they're all over Glasgow. So I want to keep that advantage. But there's a bit of a scuffle happening at the top right of the screen there. Well, big moment in the game as Richie Gray has been sent to the sin bin. So they'll be down to 40 men. Then Munster are going to take the points here and get things going. Franco Smith watching on, the South African coach. Had a really good season, Franco Smith. Top four for Glasgow Warriors, beating Stormers to get to that this semi-final. So he's had a very solid season. Quality coach is Franco Smith. Does have success most of the places he goes. Takes a while for things to get going, really. But if you back him and you trust him, then he can get the results. Now, no issue there from Crowley. Front, he hammers that through. Graham Roundtree does applaud, and Munster are officially on the board. Right, so Glasgow Warriors now just need to get into this game. They almost had a very good opportunity to score before conceding multiple penalties, which eventually resulted in them, first of all, going down to 14 men, as well as conceding 3 points. Good take that from Anton Frisch, the exciting centre on the radar of France. Been called to the French squad before, not yet capped, but is firmly on the radar for them. Now, the kick there, and it's really well taken, in fact, out the air by Josh Mackay. Under a lot of pressure there from Simon Zebo. Xander Ferguson, British and Irish Lions tight head. And it goes himself to Tom Jordan, but the ball gets ripped and very well taken in the end, but it's going to be bundled into touch. Looks like that's Scott Cummings. No, in fact, it's Jack Dempsey. He's been thrown against the touchline. So a little bit of a niggle in the game, which is good to see. Dempsey, probably not the right option to go himself, really. And having a word here with Matt Ferguson. He just wants to chat to the referee, Andrea Priardi. We have a scrum, yeah? Right, scrum, yeah. As we reach the 15-minute mark, not too much in the game so far, just the 3 points, but important periods for Glasgow Warriors. They do have the feed at the scrum. Be interesting to see how the scrum does go. They are a man down, so Cancelier adding his way on the left-hand side. Tupolotto, oh, he runs over Jack Crowley and makes a few meters there. Big counteract though, so slow ball here for George Horn. In fact, it's actually stolen by Ty Bird. That's brilliantly done by Munster. And Nankerville with a really good counter-rack. And he's laying the pass there, so a bit of pressure there on Jack Crowley, who just kicks down the middle of the park, which allowed some time for, I think it's Josh Mackay, who's looking down the left-hand side, looking for a bit of space. Almost gets to the pass tackle of Anton Frisch. Quick ball here from Horn, goes to the right-hand side. Glasgow Warriors play with a really good pace when they're up at their best, so that's what they need to try and sort of settle into here. Piardi not buying it. Glasgow Warriors looking to try and buy a penalty. Horn's going to go to the butcher. Carl Steyn is around there. I think it's going to go to the left-hand side. He's to try and stay in. Is out in the full, though. Not the best kick that from George Horn. They've not been particularly accurate early on here, Glasgow Warriors. Good work here from Munster. Oh, it's a great ball inside. John Hodney looking for the offload. Does fine, Anton Frisch, but he loses the ball. Hugh Jones comes away with a knock-on advantage here for Glasgow Warriors. Now chip over the top. And Simon Zebo will have an opportunity here. Literally his final game, if not second last game of his career. What a career he's had. And caught on the ball there was Craig Casey. So almost going forward there from Munster. A couple of mistakes creeping into the game. Case down the left-hand side. Fires straight into the hands of Haley. Nice to go to the butcher is Craig Casey. Lifts it high. And Mackay is there. In fact, it's George Horn. He takes it really well. There's the small scrum off. Yes, Bobby Nelson did watch the Bulls game. We even streamed it, actually. What a game it was. And going to be talking about that game for a long, long time. Ball over the top from Craig Casey. Cancelero gets back. Does it very, very well. Almost tries to... I'll tell you what, it's been ripped by Ty Byrne. How did he do it? And then I think knock on it there. So I think it's a Munster scrum. Ty Byrne, what a player. What an absolute phenomenal player. And it's a couple of turnovers and rips that Ty Byrne has affected so far in the early stages of the game. He's an absolute world class. I think Ty Byrne, I keep saying, I think there's few players who can affect a game in the same way a Ty Byrne can when he's on. Whenever you see like a massive Ireland game or a huge Munster performance, there's always a player that's at the center of it. And I think 9 times out of 10 it's becoming Ty Byrne. He's absolutely world class. As you say, I can't help but wonder, is Leinster and has-been team maybe Irish style choking? Yeah, it's incredible to see such good players just not win trophies. It's bizarre, really. It's like become such a mental thing. And that's the biggest problem, isn't it? You know it'll be a case of a when, not if. Although maybe it really will become an if. But the longer they go without winning a trophy, the more that sort of mental thing really builds up. So it's becoming a massive thing, the fact that these that these players, these world-class players who, part of the number one side in the world, ranking-wise, just can't seem to get their over the line and win trophies. Look, they won Six Nations, so it's not like they haven't won any trophies. But this Leinster side, for example, they haven't won a trophy in 3 years. Really good scrum that from Munster on the front foot here. Ball available for Tyburn. Goes to the right hand side. John Hodnett puts his head down. Bit of a Josh van der Fleer type of player. Red scrum cap and all. Loves ball in hand. Now, Tyburn once again. Jack Crowder looking for options. Goes to Lockman. Ball is out there. Jack O'Donoghue. Good tackle that from Johnny Matthews. Now Craig Casey goes to Lockman. Going through the phases here on Munster. So far, pretty resolute defence from Glasgow, though it must be said. And a penalty for Glasgow this time. That's a really, really good pastoral play for Glasgow Warriors. They've absorbed the pressure. They held firm. The defence was really good. It's Rory Dodge who comes away with the ball. They've won the turnover as well. Won the penalty. There's a minute left on the clock as well. So I think they've done really well there. Right, so Glasgow Warriors line just outside of 22. Tupolotto now almost getting through the tackle. George Horn looking for a quick ball, won't get it. He's going to go to the boot here. Cancelero gives chase. Zebo comes through. It's a great take from Simon Zebo. It's a good tackle on him as well. But turnover ball, yeah, Munster got it. And space as well. Crowley, not the best pass, but options here for Frisch. Good carry that from Daly. Now Crowley seeing a bit of space on that right-hand side. And Mackay was the way to the thread. Has been turned, but gets the kick away. Won't find touch. Going back, it will bounce. Yeah, for Haley. He's got a bit of time here. Looking for options here as Haley. Wants to run. Mackay managed to grab her shirt and eventually is brought down. Ball available for Craig Casey on the halfway line. Goes to Scannell. Pops it up to... Eventually falls back to Crowley. Crowley. Long ball out to Simon Zebo. Now Hodnett finds himself in a bit of space on the wing. Gets away from one. Comes back inside. Jack Dempsey has to complete the tackle. Matt Ferguson got his hands on the ball. And it's turnover by Glasgow Warriors. Really good turnover that. And Jordan hands off Craig Casey. Takes it a bit personally. Quick ball here from Horn. Goes to Xander Ferguson. Good work this from Glasgow Warriors. They're growing into the game. That yellow card has also come to an end. So at the end of this play, they will be back to a full contingent. Crowley now with a bit of space and a bit of time, seeing a bit of space. And does make a bit of a break, gets up to the halfway line. Year ago, was barely playing at fly half. Now he's the iron number one. Casey down the left-hand side. Daly. Peter Omani. Haley. Good defenses from Glasgow Warriors. Inside ball. It's really well read. Feenan Wycherley. Quick ball from Casey. Crowley goes to Scannell. Frisch. And it's been left behind. And Carl Stain's going to run with it. Look at the pace of Carl Stein. Well, they're going to score first. It's going to be the captain. How lucky is that? But Roger Luck forced the error and take it. Carl Stein scores first. Well, it's unexpected. I wouldn't say it's undeserved. Again, you put the pressure on. You force the mistakes. And then you capitalize. It's exactly what Glasgow Warriors have done. Well, it's a massive, massive moment in the game, that. Try against... I'd say against our play, but again, I think the Glasgow Warriors defence has earned that, actually. And Glasgow Warriors all of a sudden lead by 4 points, 7 points to 3. And back to, and again, so the yellow card went off at 0-0, and he's come back on at 7-3. So they've actually gone in, ahead since they're going down to 14 men. So I think they'll be pretty chuffed with that. Richie Gray now, ball back inside. Haley, now Crowley, looking for the counter-attack here from Munster. Frisch gets a bit of a happy pass out to Simon Zebo. He runs into contact. Good tackle that from Glasgow Warriors. And Tom Jordan, of all players, getting involved. And a bit of a scrap between him and Simon Zebo on the floor. And he's thrown a bit of red. I don't know if it's a bit of a Zebo shirt or something. Anyway, in the midfield, Munster go. Craig Casey. Down the right-hand side. Not too many options, that. Available for Casey down the left-hand side. They're Wishley at first receiver. Almost really well. Yeah, won the penalty. That's really good. I tell you what, Glasgow have been very solid at the breakdown so far. That's a good win now. And you can just see George Horn just slowing things down, giving away to Tom Jordan. There's definitely a bit of bite in this game. We see a couple of off-the-ball incidents, some pushing and shoving. I like to see that, really, actually. It's nice to have a bit of extra, a kiss, a bit of an extra edge to the game. Maybe next to Rex, it could be a weekend of upsets. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Munster were to lose here. We have a final at Loftus. It'd be pretty cool if that were the case, wouldn't it? And Tubeloto inside ball. Oh, Cancelero was through, but skew line out throw. That would have been massive for Glasgow Warriors. Could have had a second. Right, so it'll be a scrum for Munster. It's a huge opportunity there for Glasgow. I think we'll be. I mean, obviously they'll be the happy of the two teams, but I think they'll start to feel like they've got a bit of momentum. To be perfectly honest. Started scrum, not too much give. Casey assesses options, go down the right-hand side. Crowley seeing a bit of space. Straight into the hands of Cancelero, who dropped in really well. Ball back inside. Mackay away to the thread. Not the best pass that. And Hugh Jones has been hammered, but he's got good hands. Oh, no. And then Castaigne knocks it forward. Really frustrating for Castaigne. Some really good hands before that. And you can see the frustration in his face. Almost at the half-hour mark, and 7 points to Glasgow still leading. Both teams haven't been at their best. Glasgow took their chances, whereas the Munster haven't really so far. And it's a knockout from Munster. It'll be a turnover ball here. So, I'm saying, Glasgow Warriors, every single time Munster try to build momentum, just a bit of mistake creeping in here. Glasgow Warriors are just really, to be perfectly honest, living on Munster's mistakes, but they're forcing the mistakes, so why not? So last 10 minutes of the first half here, it's very slow scoring. Oh, Horn going to that left-hand side. Tupolotto, the wraparound. We've seen it so often. Now Mackay looking to straighten. Mackay up towards the halfway line. Nicely worked that by Glasgow Warriors. Tide burn up so quickly. Borderline offside, but apparently timed it to perfection. And done very well to slow down the breakdown there of Munster. So Horn's going to go to the boot now. Now, Haley goes to Daly. On the left-hand side. Bit of space now for holding up against the touchline. Gets up to the halfway line. Lochman with good hands. Wycherley now. Solid defenses though from Glasgow. Casey goes to Crowley. Crowley looking for that. And Peter O'Mahony runs it hard and true. Out on the right-hand side. Look, options here for Haley. Now it's Daly. Haley to Daly. You can hear that a lot. And then a knock hard. That's what I'm saying. Every single time they try and build momentum, a mistake comes in. For that rip there was Tupolotto. And then here, here's the knock on. I think it's Haley comes inside. Hugh Jones. I think it's actually obstruction is the call. Frankie Smith, a bit of a stern look on his face. Bit of a break of play as we're waiting for the scrum to set up. Eight minutes left. Tell you what, Glasgow go with a 4-point lead at half time. I think I'd be very happy with that, to be honest. Not too much now. Horn goes flat to Tupolotto. This time they're running. Oh, it's a nice big hit that. It's a good tackle from Crowley, but and then disrupted by Tide Burn. Turnover ball. Oh, jeepers, he's like single-handedly keeping Munster in this game. Just dragging them back into it every single time. Good hands that though. Bit of a rack around there from Frisch, looking for options. Slow ball is from Munster. Kind of coming from Tom Jordan. He's doing a lot of racking for a player half. Ball available for Casey. Once again, it's Tom Jordan who's throwing his weight in there. at ruck time. Haley to Daly once again. Peter O'Mahony on the outside and trying to keep up. Thought they had the penalty there to Glasgow Warriors. They were asked for holding on. Crowley goes to Ty Byrne. Good work that from, I think that's Richie Gray. Eventually places it for Casey. Casey going to Crowley. Not too much on, so Crowley just goes to the left-hand side. And he's turned Mackay. That's going to keep going. Mike eventually sort of pops up, so he'll just dab it down for a goal line dropout. A deep restart here from Glasgow. And it's Haley. Gives it inside to Jack O'Donoghue. Nah, good wraparound. Wraparound. Simon Zebo with a bit of space. Zebo puts the afterburners down. He gets bundled and touched by Hugh Jones. Good defense, that. Hugh Jones, what a player he is. And you can just see Hugh Jones, good physicality, just waits for him to run and drops the shoulder. It's a good line out that from Glasgow Warriors. No issues there from Piatti as well. And a penalty from Munster. So Glasgow have a free clearance here. Munster need to sort out the discipline, it must be said. Accuracy at the moment, not good enough. So watch the side 22. It's another good line out. That time was Matt Ferguson. Dempsey in the midfield. Strong tackle on him from, I think it was Hodnett. Out on the right-hand side they go. Oh, that's good hands. Good hands. Oh, hold on to it. Still goes Matt Ferguson. Bit of a juggle. Into Munster territory they go. And a penalty. That's a terrible penalty to concede. Outside the ruck is the call. Peter O'Mahony having a go now. I think that's a bit harsh, to be honest, on Scott Cummings. I think that's a bit of dark arts coming from Peter O'Mahony. I don't think it was that deep, to be honest, but he knows how to play the game. Now, ball at the top there. That's really good work. Down the left-hand side. Go Glasgow Warriors after stealing that ball. Tupolotto goes to Hugh Jones. Hugh Jones. Mackay. Up to the 10-meter line. Quick ball there for Horns. Xander Ferguson. Caught behind the advantage line. Just under 3 minutes left for the first half. Now ball over the top from Horn. That's a great take, that, for Haley. Runs into Jack Davis, gets the ball away to Kay Casey. They're going to try and hold him up. Now Witchley looking for options. Goes to Crowley. Crowley spinning away from the tackle of Hugh Jones. Pops it up to Haley. Frisch, not too many options. Goes to the boot. And I think he'll just mark this, Will Mackay does. If Glasgow win this, the final will be played at Loftus. That has been confirmed. No issue with the inauguration. The final will be at Loftus next week, Saturday. Now the crowd getting involved, talking about the fend from Mackay. There's a player down. Not sure we're going to have a look to see the potential foul play. So it is going to be a penalty, by the way. They have gone to the tackle. Not something we saw too much during the Bulls game. There was the TMO getting very involved. Looking at this fend here from Josh Mackay. So where's the elbow there? Yeah, it does go pretty high and almost hits Anton Frisch. Frisch then does go put his hands up. Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think initial contact's over here for riding up. So it's not like he's going to get in trouble for like a yellow card or anything like that. But that's where the issues come. So it is a penalty for Munster, who will now have 1.5 minutes to try and score and retake the lead. No, Peter Mason, it will be at Loftus. I've had that confirmed. So it will be at Loftus. The initial issue was the inauguration. We even did a video about that. But I can tell you right now that it has been confirmed that it will be at Loftus. Peter O'Mahony thought he was taken out in the air. The referee says no. Craig Casey first to you. Look at your hands. This Jack Currie with a bit of space. Tupolotto makes the tackle. Tom Jordan has burgled that brilliantly. I'll tell you what. He hasn't done much from a flyer perspective with Tom Jordan. I mean, he's been absolutely brilliant around the park. Now the breakaway here from Horn. Has he got the pace? Has he been taken out? I tell you what. It's a great kick in behind. And Matt Ferguson is there on Alex Nankerval. The inside ball to Jack O'Donoghue. That was really well played from Glasgow Warriors. Very, very good switching defense to attack. And the balls come loose there. They're all talking about a knock-on here on the Munster fans. Peter O'Mahony getting stuck in once again with Matt Ferguson this time. Always plays on the edge there, does Peter O'Mahony. Needs to be a bit careful. Matt Ferguson. Maybe there is a bit of a leading arm there. Might have a look here. I think the DMO might get involved here. I think there's a slight dip in angle. He is very upright here, is Matt Ferguson. Looking, the big question is where is the initial contact? Yeah, so having looking at mitigation, yeah, it does say there is a different contact, which is what I mentioned. So it's going to be a yellow card from the looks of it. Won't be a red card, and this is going to be kind of a problem for Glasgow Warriors. They're going to be back down to 14 men. So the second time, Glasgow Warriors going to go down to a man down. And Matt Ferguson's gone to the bin there. So Glasgow Warriors, I'll tell you what, if anything, it's going to be a discipline. It's going to cost them at this stage. They're staying in the game really, really well. Glasgow compete and eventually must come away with it, but it's loose ball to Crowley to Casey. Casey caught on the ball by Tom Jordan. Ty Burns single-handedly securing that ball there. It'll be the last play of the half. Wouldn't be the worst idea. It's a big counter-attack coming for Glasgow. And they've turned it over as well. Matthews can't gather it. All backwards, apparently. Even if it's forward, it'll be the end of the game, end of the half. Now they're looking to run it, though, Glasgow Warriors. Mackay, I'm not the worst idea from Glasgow, to be honest. I mean, just have a dip. If they make a mistake, it'll be the end of the half. But if they can run down a few more minutes, nope, Sebastian Cancelliere decides that's enough. We'll go into half time. So they will have the break, the lead rather at the break, and a couple of words there between Horn and Wycherley. So tell you what, an interesting game so far, an interesting half. We've seen Glasgow hang on. I think at the moment is the big thing, and that's the main thing. You know, stay in the game for as long as possible, because the longer you can do that, the better it potentially gets. So it's an interesting game so far. We'll be back shortly after the half time. So make sure that you do stick around, smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and we'll see you guys in just a little bit after the break. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Between Two Fans, and some breaking news. Dan Scholz has officially left the podcast for this week. In case you're looking at why he's looking a little bit better shaved, and in fact, I think you're actually the same age, to be fair. So it's a nice replacement to have. Mr. Alistair Block, how are you?
No, I'm good, Stevie. It's a pleasure to be on the show today, bro. Thanks for the invite. I'm glad that Dan's busy gallivanting there in Italy, giving me a chance to show him how to actually make some predictions. So, yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who expect to see Mr. Dan Scholz, he is currently in Sicily. It's a tough life out there, and he's experiencing some genuine third world problems in his first world country with the lack of Wi-Fi, and as such, we've had to bring in the big guns. So we do have Mr. Alistair Block, who, for a bit of background, is an Arsenal supporter for his sins, is a Shark supporter for his sins, and even more so for his sins is also a Springbok, a Proteas supporter, and then Springbok supporters. That's where we really sort of we get one back. That keeps us sane. Right,
yeah,
so
I think but Sharks, but Arsenal. You guys are missing some quality on the show, some support.
Well, at least the Sharks coming in with a trophy. I suppose it's about the only thing that they contributed towards the season so far. But before we get stuck in, we'll update the listeners on the predictions. So every week, myself and Dan make predictions, and we've got a running total. And we have said the first one to get to 15, we'll have to do a episode of podcast in a rival jersey. So, for example, Dan in like United jersey, Stephen in Arsenal or Liverpool jersey, and the likes. The score was about at one stage, Steve had a massive lead. Dan has been clawing it back slowly but steadily. It was 9-8 coming into this episode. So let's just go through that before we then chat about a bit of rugby. So we had three predictions last week. It was Northampton versus Bath, Glasgow versus Stormers, and the Proteas versus the Netherlands. First up was Northampton versus Bath. I said Bath by 5. Dan went Saints by 3. Bath losing that 25 points to 21. So Saints claiming that the English Premiership, they were the best side all season. So very deserved. So Dan does take that one. I was really hoping to see Finn Russell clutch up that red card, potentially a bit of a game changer. So Dan gets 1 there. But Glasgow versus Stormers, I said Glasgow by 6. Dan said Stormers by 3. He went with his heart, and it was a poor decision. They ended up losing by 17. So I grab a big dub there by virtue of going with my Glasgow. And then we went Proteas versus Netherlands, and Steve says by 30 runs or 5 wickets. Dan said 40 runs or 7 wickets. It was a 4-wicket victory by the Proteas. So Steve has stemmed the flow, taken a 10 points to 8 lead, and Dan's going to have no say about what happens next week as well, because he has a proxy in the form of Alistair, who will be hoying those predictions at the end of the show. So I'll no pressure, because Dan was making a nice comeback, but I don't know, 11-8 suddenly becomes a bit ominous. So I hope you're ready for it.
No, Not to worry. Dan, I got you. I want to see Steve in an Arsenal shirt as much as you do on this show. So this week's predictions, I got you down, my boy. Don't stress. Don't stress.
I think my biggest worry is more the fact of trying to find an Arsenal shirt that might actually fit me. You can be very sort of tight shirts out here, which I don't think is what the viewers want to see. That might have to be a genuine podcast episode. But let's get into some ruggers, because we had the URC quarterfinals last week, and we'll go through the games. Munster beating Ospreys 23 points to 7. Bulls winning 30 points to 23 against Benetton. Leinster beating Ulster 43 points to 20. The only sort of real blowout win there, and Glasgow beating Stormers 27 points to 10. Before we sort of get stuck on some of the individual ones, a fair reflection, I suppose, of the table, in that all the home sides won, and the top 4 are indeed our top 4. So do you think we genuinely now have our top 4 best sides in the URC in the semi-finals this weekend?
Well, the Sharks aren't there, so no, I'm kidding. The Sharks were awful this season. But, yeah, looking at it, Steve, I think so. I'm disappointed not to see Stormers there, given that in the past few seasons they've been winning their quarterfinals, getting to the semis, getting to the finals, even winning the whole thing. First time the South African teams were there. But Glasgow this season, particularly towards the latter half, have just been immense, and they deserve to be there, top 4, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think let's sort of stuck into some of the individual games there. So Bulls versus Benetton, I think, is one I want to talk about, because the Bulls, who have been running in tries for fun and looked really good, struggled a little bit in this game, which I think sort of shows you how play of rugby can be quite predictable. I think if they were away, I think Benetton could have done the job. But what do you sort of put that down to? Do you think a bit of nerves for the Bulls? I mean, obviously missing a couple of key players in the likes of no Kane Moody, no Kurt Lawrence, who's injured last week and stuff. But it looked nervy from the Bulls. What do you reckon was the cause of that?
Yeah, look, you could never write off Benetton, Steve. Those guys have been pretty immense the whole season. Particularly at home. Away, they've been strong as well. I mean, look, they did themselves, I don't want to say a disservice by beating the Sharks, because obviously that got them into the quarterfinals, but that win away at the Sharks was really good. Bulls themselves, you never know. Like you say, playoff rugby, it's intense, it's unpredictable. Can't say that the Benetton team wasn't used to the heat, from what Dan's Instagram stories are saying. It's looking quite hot and nice there in Italy. So, yeah, I think it's also just could be a thing of Bulls perhaps underestimating their opponents. Italian team coming over, a bit of jet lag. Well, I don't know if jet lag's the right term, but certainly being tired from all the travel they've done in the past few weeks could have been a factor. But, yeah, it was nervy for the Bulls there, but they got the job done. Only South African team left, and I hate to say it, but I'm backing them all the way.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the Bulls, for me, this season, they've scored a lot of points, but their defense has been a bit leaky, and they're playing against Leinster this weekend, which is a side that scores points for fun, really. I mean, putting 40 points past Ulster in the playoff game. Maybe also a little bit leaky in the fact that they can see a 20, but yeah, I think going into this game, before we sort of talk about Glasgow and Munster, do you think is it safe to say that'll be the difference? If the Bulls are to pull off the spectacular and knock Leinster out, they're going to have to sort the defence out.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't think it helped them losing Currie in, what was it, like the 29th minute or so, and he had already scored 2 tries at that point. And Currie is immense on defence, Steve. People think, he's a small guy, but he brings Oaks down. Leaky defense could be an issue for them. But, yeah, look, the Bulls' attacking threat we've seen throughout the season has been wild. Even though they're shipping like 23 against Benetton in the quarterfinal, and I think a couple of weeks before that they shipped 35 against them at home in the league stages, the group stages rather. But then they went on to put 56 on Benetton in that game, put 40 on Glasgow, 61 on Ospreys, 40 on Stormers. Their attack is excuse me, it's really effective. But against a team like Leinster, however, or Ireland, that's effectively who they're playing, that leaky defence might really be a problem, particularly if they play the way they did against Benetton. Leinster won't be so forgiving.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I think both teams as well. I think it's going to be, it could potentially be a high scoring game. Considering that there were 50 points at Loftus last week, there were 60 points plus at in Dublin. So potentially a high scoring game, which could create a bit of a thriller. I suppose both teams will be backing themselves to score some points. Glasgow beating Stormers. Before we talk about their chances against Munster, let's just talk about the Stormers a little bit about. A disappointing performance. Mon Liebach boot not quite on song. The Stormers sort of maybe not quite where they needed to be. The Stormers have had a lot of success in playoffs in the last few years. They've had back-to-back finals, but that home advantage has always been such a big thing. Do you think you put it down to that sort of a way, the 4G pitch, the conditions, stuff like that? Are Stormers, is it unfair to call them sort of home bullies?
I don't know if it's unfair to call them that. You and Scotty spoke about it last week. Stormers away, their travel form has been shocking. I think the only South African team that actually traveled really well was the Lions, who unfortunately couldn't continue to show that travel away form, getting pipped to 8th place by the Ospreys of all people. But
not happy.
Yeah, no, I understand. But Stormers away on a 4G pitch. South African teams on a 4G pitch, always looking a little bit dicey. Glasgow really turned up. It was a bit of an interesting first half, that quite low scoring until 60th minute when Concilier and Fencer got over the line. It was looking really close, but ultimately that Stormers away form just showed in the quarterfinal. They weren't up for it.
Yeah, no, a word about Mon Liebach, for example. It's always such a tricky one to talk about, but he missed borderline everything last week. I think he basically did miss everything. Difficult conversation to have, but do you think this is something that the Stormers need to now start basically embracing and almost sort of saying, listen, we know that his goal kicking is very inconsistent, that he has his days and he can have his off days. Do you think this is something they need to, moving on, looking ahead, even maybe in a Springbok point of view, that you've got to look at, if he plays, you have to have a potential second goal kicking option, and how do you think you negotiate that?
Well, from a Springbok point of view, we saw the door. Sia Masuku's in, and
does Hanjay Pollard know about this? Yeah.
Yeah, look, for the Stormers, it's dicey. Me not being a Stormers fan, I'm not actually sure what other goal kicking options they have. And look, I don't want to be a Mani hater. I love the guy. He has made clutch kicks for the Stormers in playoff games before. He's won them a URC title. If we're talking purely kicking, it's different because you can't judge Mani solely on his kicking. His infield play is just crazy, which is why it's difficult to consider him only as a kicker. But when it gets to those clutch moments in a playoff game and Mani's not on song, you are going to need a backup kicker to make those clutch kicks. And for the Stormers, I'm not quite sure who's going to step up and do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose Damian Willems can be an option when he plays, but he's also not been known for his goal kicking. When Sacha Femi-Ngomazulu is playing, he's got a very good percentage. Apparently, he had a bit of a niggle this last weekend, which prevents him from taking it. But I think it is a genuine bit of a problem for the Stormers, because when he's on song, as you say, what he does in the sort of the general field is untouchable. But he did leave out about 15, 16 points last week, which does change the entire sort of complexion of the game. Now, Glasgow Warriors, though. They're my second side when it comes to the URC. Love watching them play. They're up against the current champions. Are we giving them a chance? Right, and we are back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Favorite Rugby on Favorite Sports. The second half, Glasgow Warriors leading Munster 7 points to 3, but down to 14 men for the next about 7 minutes, I reckon, about 7.5 minutes. And Munster have dominated a lot of the game, but Glasgow Warriors have defensively been very, very sound. They forced an error, which saw Carl Steyn run basically the half length of the field to score the first try against run of play. But that's really well done by Josh Mackay, who left the ball and has actually become a bit of a beneficiary. Still going as Josh Mackay up towards the 22. That's a great run. Glasgow Warriors immediately on the front foot here. Looking for options. Tom Jordan, long pass out towards Tupolotto. Tupolotto, seeing a bit of space, going himself. Slightly isolated, but support does arrive. Horn, quick ball now. Jamie Batty popping it up to Tom Jordan. So now here's Jordan. Hugh Jones looking for options. Solid start this from Glasgow Warriors. Batty now, good carry from him. Tupoloto, Mackay, who started this whole move. Oh, that's a penalty. Yeah, they said leave it and then ripped it. So it'll be an early penalty here for Glasgow Warriors. Interesting decision now. What do they do? Go for the points, run the clock down. Probably the right thing to do. I think it's going to go to the corner here. Oh, they're going to take the points. So I'm going to go to the corner. Right, trying to line up there. Good take this. Now, I think it's a good decision to actually go to the corner here. I mean, they score a try, for example. Then that's an amazing start. But more to the point, they can run the clock down. Looking like the rolling ball is really well set here, by the way. Ball is available there for Horn. Ball available there for Horn. Ty Burn comes on the side. Johnny Matthews goes by himself. That's very, very, very good awareness there from the hooker. There's a lot of bodies on the ground, so things are just going to take a while before the ball comes out. Carl Steyn is there. Eventually, the bodies are back up. Pick up and go here from Rory Dodge. Solid carry from him, working really, really hard. Penalty once again from the Glasgow Warriors. Once again, I think they'll go to the corner here. Very nice start this from Glasgow Warriors. Penalty advantage early here. So free roll the dice for Glasgow Warriors. Once again, they're looking for the rolling wall. Carl Steyn's coming added his way. I think that's Tupoloto on the other side there. Horn's going to look to use this. They've got a free play. A little chip over the top. And one of the players taken out. So they'll go back for another penalty. Another option. And then once again, I think just go to the line. I mean, they're running the clock down. I don't know what the official time is if they haven't shown it on the clock. But I mean, I think, given the fact it's about 5 minutes, there must only be about 3 minutes left. But this time, Munster do steal it. That's a big moment in the game. Goes on the left-hand side. Peter Marnie of all people, hack it forward. Now Josh Mackay from deep. He's got Carl standing next to him. Steps on the inside. Looks for the pass. Pick up and go. Good skill set there from Josh Mackay. And Ty Burn. What did I say? Ty Burn, Ty Burn, Ty Burn. How good is that? How good is that? Such a big line. I'll win that. And then Tyburn, bang, over that ball. So good. I mean, he's the lock. He's a lock. I know that he can play at flank, but it's not like he's how good. Well, speaking of how good, Arcas Neyman has just walked onto the park. So yeah, I mean, he's 2 meters tall. He's 113 kgs. How is he so good on the ground? It's mental. It is absolutely mental. Look at some of the comments here on YouTube. My boss Marcy, I like this 10 of Glasgow, brave little lad. Well, that's what I said. I said he's been getting stuck in at the rucks. He's had a couple of turnovers. Doesn't really play like a fly half, but I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from him, to be fair. Now Crowley. Daly. Sorry, Haley to Frisch. Craig Casey going. Options here. Crowley going flat to Tyburn. Crowley. Nankerval knocked backwards by Cancelero. So turnover ball there from Glasgow. And then knocked forward, I think, from Munster. So it'll be a Glasgow scrum. So that's not worked out too badly for Glasgow. Yeah, a breaking player as there's a cut, I think, on one of the players' heads. I think that could be Nankerval. Right, so there's Nankerval. He's going to get replaced here. So in terms of the replacements, here, a couple of replacements for Munster. Arcas Neyman, as well as Ollie Jaeger on, as well as Damon Barrett. And this will be, I think, Sean O'Brien. I think it'll be Alex Kendall will come on here. So Scannell, Archer, and Phelan Wycherley off. And we are going to restart with a Glasgow scrum. And I imagine this yellow card can't have too many minutes left on this. I think a Bulls versus Glasgow Warriors final could be really cool. I mean, the Bulls did recently pump Glasgow Warriors. But Glasgow Warriors are a side that when they get it right, they're very, very exciting to watch. Mustafa saying, hometown TV directors are nonsense. They always look for small issues of the opposition. We've seen this now in both games, actually. It didn't really work in the Bulls game, but SuperSport was showing every single potential late hit, any sort of 50-50. It was quite funny. We talk about the French directors, but SuperSport were definitely doing their part earlier. And Super Lotto to start carry, almost held up. And Horn now lifts it high and towards that right-hand side. And it's been knocked backwards as well. So turnover by Johnny Matthews is there. Very good work by Glasgow Warriors to have that ball back. Now Xander Ferguson runs it nice and hard and straight. Really good work that from the tight head. Now Rory Dodge. Dodge still going. Dodge still going. Gets the offload away as well to Horn. Now that's Scott Cummings. Now Xander Ferguson pops it up. And it's a solid carry there from Dempsey. Right up against the touchline. Tupolotto coming and getting involved. Cancelero backing him up. Good continuity to this from Glasgow Warriors. Johnny Matthews goes himself. George Turner, one of the most capped Glasgow Warriors players in history, I think it is. Something like along those lines. Waiting on the bench. Very good. I don't know what's going on with it. We usually see how many phases there are. We usually see how many referees' knees are on the ground. His knees have been on the ground. They've been on the ground. Eventually comes down. Ball available here for Xander Ferguson. All the way back there. Not getting too much momentum now. Now Tupolotto. Carl Steyn. Cancelera now. And then from the side, and penalty, Glasgow Warriors. They will get the yellow card back, surely. And all those phases, not getting too much ascendancy, but eventually the mistake coming from Munster. Penalty for Glasgow. Surely should be back to full 15. John Hodnett there shaking his head, and he knows he's made a mistake. Good hands, though. Very, very nice hands, that. And once again, where's my glass? I had another drink here lying around somewhere. Decision time, yeah, and they're going to go for polls. Yeah, George Horn has called for the kicking tee. And this will be the first opportunity for points in the second half. What a close game this has been. Far more sort of semi-final-ish than the mental game between Bulls and Leinster, which just ebbed and flowed and ebbed and flowed and flowed and ebbed. And, yeah, what a mental finish it was as well. And I'll tell you what, it's curling a lot. I think curling too much, unfortunately, for George Horn. Horn get there in the end. Long day. Right, Jack Crowley. Right, deep restart there from Munster. 10 minutes gone in the second half. No points so far. As mentioned, Glasgow back to a full contingent. Jordan looking to run himself, getting it away to Joy Dodge. Now Hugh Jones sees a bit of space. Hugh goes straight down the middle. Cancelera, he's got the pace. Zebo's desperately trying to get to him. He's going to make it all the way. What a try that is. Glasgow Warriors take a bow. Goodness me. Tom Jordan, Hugh Jones, Cancelera, Glasgow Warriors with the first try of the second half. Munster, I tell you what, not quite panic stations, but this is not what they needed. And it's such good work from Tom Jordan. That's a really nice extra step in by Rory Dodge, who opens up the space for Hugh Jones, and then the pace from Cancelera. Simon Zebo, I think 5 years ago, he probably chased him down. Didn't have the pace in that instance. Well, that's a big moment in the game. Let's go and jump to the comments over here. The yellow was for Matt Ferguson, who was trying to dislodge the ball and had a swinging arm at the time and made head contact with Peter O'Mahony. So that was the yellow card. It's just come back in. And saying Hugh Jones MVP is such a cool player to watch. I absolutely love watching Hugh Jones play rugby. I actually might even tweet that. And once again, looking for that that hook of his, but this time he's got it right, has George Horn. That's a great take out the air. Goodness me. From Richie Gray, back from that yellow card early on. Haley, it's good to kick off to the kick from Horn. Now, Carly, break space here for Frisch options. Good tackle that from Jordan. He's been so good tonight. Heroic performance, really. Crowley looking for options. Big hit that on Kendallin. Ty Byrne. Big hit on him, but then Munster are 5 meters out, looking to try and respond. Snyman gives the offload away to Lochman. And Dodge on it. Shirley does get the penalty. Massive work that from Rory Dodge. And he's just starting to feel that Glasgow are starting to win the small battles here. Every single time Munster have opportunities, they're just finding a moment, turning a turnover, a big tackle. They're just finding that little moment that puts them right back into the bit of momentum. Well, not the best clearance that from Glasgow Warriors. They only up towards the 22. So, here it is. There's one man who's been on a different mission this season. That is Gavin Coombs, who's just come on. And I tell you what a season he's had. How if he's not in that Ireland squad, I'll be very surprised. I think actually I'm trying to work out if it's been announced or not. It's been so good. Has Gavin Coombs. Good line at that. Very good line at that. Good take from Scott Cummings. So a couple of subs here. A lot of subs actually here from Munster. So Sean O'Brien's on, as is Arceus Stamen, Gavin Coombs, Ollie Jaeger, and Diamond Barron. Well, ball's allowed to bounce and one back by Glasgow Warriors. And this is what I'm saying. Just those small moments like that, for example, are starting to go for the Glasgow Warriors' way. Horn popping that up to Tom Jordan, who takes it very well under a lot of pressure. I'll use it as trying to run down a bit of time. There is Horn. Charged down by Snyman and one back by, I think it's Armani. Lochman now. Casey going to Crowley. Hodnett pops it up to Ty Byrne. Haley now. He's been very good with ball in hand. Now the left hand to Ty Byrne. Crowley pops it up. Numbers. Coombs to Arceus to Lochman. Lochman with the pace. Is he going to go all the way? Josh McKay. What a tackle that is. Pops it up to Casey. And in the corner, Frisch goes. Munster do hit back eventually. Well, I'll tell you what. There's been a lot of talk about Anton Frisch's loyalty. Is he going to stay at Munster? Is he going to make the move to France, where his international career lies? That celebration might tell you a bit of a story. He is Munster through and through. Huge moment in the game, though, that. Arceus Neyman just popping up to Lochman. He's got some good pace about him, as Jeremy Lochman, especially for a loose head. I haven't heard anything about Billy LaRue. He did fail his HI. That much I do know. So we have to wait and see. I mean, look, sometimes they'll reassess tomorrow, for example, and see what the symptoms are and stuff. In theory, if it is diagnosed concussion, it's supposed to be a 10-day stand-down period, which will rule him out of the final. We'll make him available for the Ireland series. But yeah, so he did fail his HIA. That was confirmed. That's a great kick from Jack Crowley to make it a 4-point game once again. Big moment in the game, that though. They had to respond to Munster, and they put on Conor Murray to see out the final 23 minutes. Probably a good substitution, actually, in terms of somebody who knows how to see out a game. Doesn't panic. Although I was very impressed with Craig Casey, who showed that side of his game last year. The roles were reversed in that final, with Conor Murray starting, Craig Casey coming off the bench. And Max Williamson now will be coming on the park as well. And that is the end of a decent outing for Richie Gray, apart from that early yellow card. Here comes Henko Fenter, by the way. And Jamie Dobie as well. Interesting decision that Jamie Dobie will play Sebastian Cancelera. So George Horn will stay on. Well, they're saying that Bulls versus Leinster game reminded me of the 2009 Bulls, Pat Loftus and no remorse from the Bulls. Yeah, it was just ruthless, wasn't it? Didn't give Leinster an inch. Right, 10 points to 14. Close game here. Turner on for Matthews. Franco Smith has gone to the bench here to try and see out the game. Trying to add a bit of spark. He has got a 6-2 split to try and counteract the Munster pack, and it's probably a good move actually when you think that Munster have brought on Gavin Coombs, Archie Snyman, for example, Noddy Jaeger. They brought on most of their players. Alice Kendall and John Ryan, the only players remaining on that Munster bench. Andy Farrell, by the way, in attendance, watching on. And a bit of a messy lineup there from Munster, from Glasgow. Munster have won it back. Henko Fenter getting involved in making that tackle. Good take that from Jamie Dobie. Nice players, Jamie Dobie. I've enjoyed watching him. Now Horn. Jordan in the midfield. Goes to Tupolotto. Tupolotto. Mackay. Hugh Jones steps back inside. Oh, so good. George Turner's first carry of the day. George Turner, he'll be finishing his Warriors career. So a Glasgow Warriors legend. Oh, that's well, initial knock-on was from Munster, then a knock-on from Glasgow, so it'll be a Glasgow scrum. But this is the thing when it comes to the end of the season, final games for certain players, Simon Zebo, hang up his boots at the end of the season. George Turner, his final games potentially for Glasgow Warriors, 31 years old. He's making the move to Japan. Whether that means he'll be continue to play for Scotland, who knows? Has played, I think it's like about over 100 games for Glasgow Warriors. After a 5-year stint at Edinburgh, was saw loans to London Scottish, as was the Glasgow Warriors. Yeah, as Donnie said, a lot of us have, I think, watching on, begging Glasgow Warriors to win so we can get a home final here. Get the Bulls to Loftus. What a day that'll be. Box at 3 o'clock. Probably a 5 o'clock kickoff for the URC. Just be absolutely epic, won't it? Now, turn over ball here from Munster. Gavin Coombs gets it away to Simon Zebo. Into the half, but I tell you what. It's Tom Jordan again. He's done it again. He's an absolute mental game. Has anyone told this kid that he's a number 10? I think that's his 3rd turnover. He's been everywhere. The 25-year-old is really standing up here tonight. If Glasgow go on to win, I would look at him as man of the match, genuinely. I think he's made some big tackles. He's been good on the ground. Right, taking their time here, Glasgow Warriors. 20 minutes left on the clock. Ewan Ferry onto the park. So he replaced Matt Ferguson. Thorman Park. What a stadium that is. That little aerial daylight over there. I mean, it'll be what, 7:30 in this prime summer. The sun goes down later over that side. Are we about to see another... Well, I suppose technically from the log point of view, this would actually be the first upset. But, I mean, there's no doubt that Bulls versus Leinster is an upset. Messy like that from Glasgow, but it is a knock-on, so they will have the feed to the scrum. Well, Simon Zebo departs. That could be the final time we see him on the field for Munster. We'll have to wait and see. But if it is, what a career he's had. Big scrum that from Glasgow Warriors. And they're going to have a reset here, which they won't mind at all. 18 minutes left. Glasgow Warriors will desperately want a penalty here. 4-point lead, extra 3, puts them at 7 points, which will still be within a converted try range. Andrew, the time of the clock is 64 minutes. And Glasgow still have, I think, 3 subs on the bench. Ross Thompson still on the park, as is Ollie Kevin and Murphy Walker. Haven't made the changes just yet on the props perspective. George Turner's on in the front row. Yeah, they've got Max Williamson on, Ian Ferry on as well as Henko Fenter. So 3 additional forwards. Henko Fenter on the side there. Solid scrum, and Horn does use it. Jordan goes straight to Hugh Jones. Quick read there from Alex Nankerville, but it's a good work from Jamie Dobie to secure that ball. Another wraparound from Jordan to Tupolotto. Tupolotto looking for options, going himself. Tupolotto gets away from 1, looking for the open on the ground. Not quite there. Ty Byrne completing that tackle. Now Xander Ferguson runs back on the angle. By the way, also an interesting advantage offside here. Free roll of the dice. An interesting thing as well. We're talking about Simon Zebo's last game. This could be Archie Sneeman's last game for Munster before making that move to Leinster next season. Penalty advantage here for Glasgow. George Turner. Horn looking for options. Goes to Tom Jordan. Jones just kicks over the top with that penalty advantage. And they'll go back. And this is in front of the poles. This will surely be a chance of goal here. With 60 minutes to go, Glasgow could potentially make this a 7-point game. Look at that run there for Tupolotto, getting away from Peter O'Mahony before Ty Byrne completed the tackle. Right, so 14 minutes to go. They're going for the corner here, by the way, our Glasgow Warriors. That's a massive, massive call, especially when you don't find touch. O'Brien takes it and hacks it forward. That's a really big mistake from Glasgow Warriors. They have to build from deep. But having said that, last time they're in this position, they went on to score. So Hugh Jones pumps this downfield. Haley is just outside of 22. Goes to the boot there. On the bounce towards Mackay. He's going to take a bit of time. Yeah, he's going to look for touch. It's about game management this from Glasgow Warriors. Right up against the touch line. Now Crowley looking for options here. Goes to the air. I think it's Frisch. In fact, it's Haley that's giving chase. Good take that from Tom Jordan. He hasn't put a foot wrong here. Advantage here for Glasgow Warriors as well. I think it's offside as the call. Tupolotto looking for options. Drifting. Goes short to Henko Fenter. He's quite direct. And then lost forward, but they'll go back for the penalty. Not sure where it is. Not sure where it'll be kickable, but from the looks of it, they'll probably look to go to the corner once again, I'd imagine. Subs there for Red, apparently. So that should be the final 2 subs. John Ryan still on the bench for Munster, as well as Alex Kenderlin. So that is John Ryan onto the park. So Jeremy Loughman, after a decent outing, makes way. I don't think Alex Kenderlin on just yet. Good line at that. Hinkerfen leaves with the ball backwards, though. George Turner runs in. And Hinkerfen pick up and go here. Warriors just outside the 22. Good momentum this as well. Jamie Batty still on the park, though. Those two starting props going strong. 60 minutes in. Horn now. Oh, dear. That's horrible. And this is why you almost take the points, isn't it? It's gone off the head of Scott Cummings. Looking to... was charged down, though. Back into the hands. And eventually going to go back for the initial knock-on, which will be a Munster scrum, rather. Feel like they probably should have taken the points. I can understand they wanted to run the clock down. And over here, not expecting it there for Scott Cummings, and straight off his head, really. As Kenneth says, kick for poles, it's a semi. Master Bushwick and Arceus' name is looking a bit fat. Wow, I think that's a bit harsh. They've just gone past him, and he's looking pretty slim to me, to be fair. Tell you what, you telling me he's fat. I'm certainly not. Peter Mason, Steve, not taking your points, not good. Assuming not taking the points on offer from Glasgow. And yeah, so it's 69 minutes with the time on the clock. Just over 12 minutes left on the clock here. I tell you what, if there's ever a time for Glasgow Warriors to pull out a big scrum, this would be it. Now down the right-hand side, Crowley looking for options. Going to Anton Frisch. Gets the offload away. And O'Brien, Carstein trying to hold him up. And trying desperately to get him to touch, but enough Munster players get involved there to keep him inside. Archistem at first receiver. Oh, it's a big tackle on Ollie Jaeger. Now Ty Byrne. I'll tell you, isn't anything you can't do. Long pass out wide. John Hodney has got a bit of space. Tries to come inside. Does come inside. Of Hugh Jones. Good tackle in the end from David Dobie. Oh, yes, Neyman knocks it forward. That is very uncharacteristic for the big man. One of the best skill sets in world rugby has Arceus Neyman, but that's a big mistake from him. Right, so the clock is officially stopped on 68 minutes and 56 seconds. So 11 minutes and 4 seconds left on the clock. Glasgow Warriors leading by 4. Big 10 minutes ahead. What a result this would be. Just absolutely sensational, really. Glasgow Warriors, who finished 4th, had a bit of a fall-off, really. They were playing some fantastic rugby and were leading the log for a long time. Before then, just sort of dropping off towards the end. But to go to Thormond Park and beat Munster would be an incredible result. A bit of a sad day for Ireland Rugby if that were to happen with regards to Leinster having lost to the Bulls. Now, if Munster lose, it would be not a good day for Ireland Rugby. The only upside, it means that all those players can get back into Ireland camp a bit sooner and prepare for the upcoming series against the mighty Springboks. Solid scrum that for Glasgow. Tupolotto from deep. Popping up to Tom Jordan. Long pass out wide towards Carstein. He puts his head down. Bit of space there for Carstein. Good tackle that from Haley, but Ball's available. In fact, I think it's actually been stolen on the ground by Brian. That's really good work, though. Munster turnover. Inside the 22. Now, Arcus Neyman. Oh, big tackle on him. I think it's Max Williamson who's getting involved there. Conor Murray goes back to Crowley, who kicks deep. Carl Staines going back, but it's a favourable bounce, which allowed him to pick it up just outside 22. He's got Jordan next to him. Now, Carl Staines won't kick this. He never does. It's an interesting part, actually, if you look at his game. He's one of the few wings that will almost 9 times out of 10 run it himself. He hates kicking the ball, does Carl Staines. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I mean, I think he scored tries because of it. I think maybe he's put himself under pressure because of it as well. But Glasgow do have the possession here. Henko Fenter presenting well to Horn, who then goes to the boot. Carl Staines will give chase, as will Hugh Jones. Haley goes underneath. Carl Staines completes the tackle. Williamson there should look to try and steal the ball, but enough Munster players there to seal it. Solid tackle that on Ollie Jaeger, coming from George Turner. Now, a bit of space on the left-hand side here for Munster. Peter O'Mahony. That's a good tackle from Jamie Dobie. Just getting nice and low. Textbook stuff from him. John Ryan now for Munster. As we go into the last 10 minutes, Crowley looking for options. And Coombs pops it into Tyke Byrne. Conor Murray now to Crowley. Goes flat, but then lost forward. Once again, far too many mistakes here in Munster. It's been an uncharacteristically sloppy performance from Munster's side in the last few weeks. For me, it's looked really, really good. So it's interesting to see them making so many mistakes because it's been so uncharacteristic of them. Everybody reckons that Arkia is helping the Bulls there with that drop. Obviously, he is a former Bull. We'll be playing in blue once again next season when he turns out for Leinster. I will not confirm or deny whether that was indeed Clippies and Coke. We're professional over here, so we don't like to mix business with pleasure. So, yeah, I'm not going to confirm whether it is indeed Abdonas and Coke. I mean, why not? I mean, the Bulls won earlier. It's been a good weekend. Going to watch a bit of Euros tonight. Proteas are into the Super 8. England are about to be knocked out by virtue of rain. Things you love to see. Kenny reckons if Glasgow lose, only themselves to blame. I think that's completely correct, to be fair. I think they've been very sloppy. And Glasgow Warriors, given them the credit, they've forced the mistakes as well. The pressure they've put Munster on has been immense. We've seen 2 fantastic defensive performances today. And I always say, well, they always say, to be fair, it's not like I coined the phrase, but attack wins you games, defense wins you trophies. And the Springboks will attest to that. And today we've seen 2 playoff games which have been won by good defenses and taking opportunities when they present themselves. Now, Tom Jordan always finding a bit of space. He's been really good today. I'd love to see him walk away with a spot in the final as well, the Man of the Match award. Horn going to Dempsey. He's carried strong. And that's offside from... That's how you buy a penalty. Ball back inside from Matt Ferguson to Tom Jordan. He's going to chip over the top and then gets a bit of a hit. So we'll go back for the penalty. Will Glasgow Warriors finally look for points, or will they once again go towards the corner? Right, so there's Alex Kendon on for John Hodnett. An interesting substitution there. Not so much the positional point, but the fact that it's taken 72 minutes to bring him on. I think Alex Kendon's a great player. But in the number 23 jersey today, so it's not a... it is a 6-2 split from Munster, but from a jersey size point of view, he has to wear the number 23. Right, there's officially 8 minutes left on the clock. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see video. And there's a penalty for Munster. That is huge. I'm probably penalty for Munster. Penalty for Glasgow. It's been a long day. I apologize. Big penalty that, though. Huge, in fact. And Ollie Cable's just come on and won it. So the blonde Ollie Cable, it's a nice impact to have. Once again, decision time, though. Sure, you got to think about taking some points here, guys. I know it's not the easiest kick, but I mean, you nail it. And 7 points, you at least, you're a converted try ahead. Even if they get a converted try, you can go to extra time. So Franco Smith must surely be imploring them to go for the poles, which they're not doing. They've gone to the corner once again. So they're just basically favouring running down the clock more than anything. Right. That's a good take, that, from Matt Ferguson. I think Fenter comes away with it, runs into Ty Burn. Looking for that, of course he's looking for that to rip as Ty Burn. But it is available for Horn. Goes to Ollie Cable. Penalty advantage here. Now that will be easy to take the points now. That was against John Ryan for not rolling. Penalty riding by the poles here. And that's been taken by George Hearn. I think there's going to be another penalty actually right in front of the poles. And I think that could actually be a yellow card. Oh, I tell you what, he's trying to have a conversation with the referee because he thinks he's in a bit of trouble here, is Alex Nankerville. So a word there's to Ty Burn, who's taken over the captaincy. Taking over the captaincy, he is the captain. It's been the captain this season. But yeah, you can just see Nankerville coming through and taking out George Horn. No hit count to anything, so it won't be anything more than just a penalty. And they might yet have a look at this. So this might yet be potentially more than just a penalty. Could be a yellow card here. And this will be the points that I think will potentially win the game here. I think it is going to be a yellow card. So I think Munster will go down to 14 men. Glasgow Warriors will put themselves 7 points ahead. And then there'll be about 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes for Munster to desperately try and find a way back into it. It's kind of more the back, really, than sort of head-on-head contact. So the referee's saying there's no need to do that. Red card. Well, that's a big decision. Well, that's a huge decision. Nankerville, yeah, he just going and took out George Horn at the base of the ruck. Came through, and he said it's reckless. He said there was no need. It was irresponsible, and there was head contact. So Alex Nankerville does receive a red card. That's a very stern going around. She's looking on. Ken is saying, after the Bulls are playing Leinster, almost the Irish teams, 14-17 international. I feel good for Ireland versus Springboks, although our backline will be different. Yeah, look, I think to be fair, there's a couple of big players that come in for Ireland when they do play for Ireland. I mean, something like a Peter O'Mahony, a Ty Burn. I'm very interested to see if Mac Hansen's going to make the trip, whether he's going to be ready to go. But I also think Andy Farrell and the Ireland system's a bit different, So I don't think Leinster necessarily make it. The fact that Leinster lost today suddenly means that we should be confident for that Ireland series. Ireland are a whole different kettle of fish. We haven't beaten Ireland in a long time. I think the last time we beat them was like 2015 or something stupid. When they came over, the South African guy. How could he lost his name? Got that red card back in 2016. think that was the last time because, yeah, we got hammered in 2017, got beaten in 2022, beaten in 2023. Yeah, the last time we beat Ireland was, in fact, 2016. So that's been 8 years. They have beaten us the last 3 times. But Glasgow Warriors do take the points, and they have slotted it. And with 5 minutes to go, by the way, I thought it was a bit less, but 5 minutes to go, Munster will need something special with 14 men. It's a good take that off the kickoff. Ball presenter as well by Rory Dodge. Now Horn goes to the boot, lifts it high in the air. Carstein giving chase. Craig Casey, sorry, Jack Crowley rather, caught in the ball. Oh, it's a great tackle. I don't know if I managed to hold on to it. I don't know how. Good work that from Glasgow Warriors. Not too many options there for Anton Frisch, who's just lost his centre partner. Now Conor Murray popping up to, I think it was Kendallin. Looking for the penalty, but the referee unmoved. Peter O'Mahony caught in the ball. Hiko Fenton making a good tackle. Ty Byrne popping up to Crowley. Crowley looking for options. Goes to Haley. Now options. Crowley going short. John Ryan rather. James Ryan was earlier. Get there. Sneyman. Nice carry from him. Still going, in fact, to Sneyman. Less than 4 minutes on the clock here. Coombs popping up to Crowley. To Frisch. Now to Daly. Brought down by Tupolotto. Penalty advantage for not releasing. That seems a bit harsh. Options here, Tyburn. Good hands. Jaeger. O'Brien. That's a bit of a fumble. Well, I'll tell you what, that's pretty good from Jack Crowley, who lost it forward and then just basically has kicked it one time and it landed up in the hands of Haley. So it was almost a really nice little touch there. There's all the comments over here. Matthew says the Glasgow are the new URC champions. Going to set a lot of Bulls fans with that chat. Peter Mason, if the Warriors took the early points, there could be more than 7 clear. Gabagool saying, come on, Munster. I believe CK Gaming saying, I can see the Europeans not wanting to renew the contract for SA teams in the URC when the contract expires, so they don't win anything. Well, Munster won last year, to be fair. In fact, the Irish players, Irish fans, and I think teams are very chuffed to have us in the URC. I think it'll be a bit of a rivalry now with the Island Series coming up. I think there's a lot of mutual respect between the Irish and the South African fans. Sometimes, obviously, things bottle over a little bit and you always get the select few which cause issues. But I think genuinely we've really enjoyed playing against you like your Munsters, Leinsters, Connacht, Ulsters. But anyway, good. This is really good work here from Munster, by the way, who are definitely out of it. A converted try takes this game to extra time. So Daly now. Less than 2 minutes on the clock. Remember, 14 men here, Munster, down with a red card. Murray goes to Arceus Sneyman. Sneyman gets the offload away, but it's not forward by Ryan. Just not expecting it. And with a minute and a half, Glasgow Warriors will have a scrum inside the 22. Yeah, 17. Imagine a bit of extra time. You know, traditionally I'd be keen. I am, however, very tired. It's been a long day. It's been a very hectic day. The Bulls game was wild. This has been a wild. What great semi-finals, though. I mean, I was a little bit upset with the quarterfinals last week. I thought they could have been a bit closer. I thought none of them would necessarily run away. The Leinster one was about 24 points. Glasgow put Stormers away. But Benton put in a really nice shift. But these two semi-finals have been really good. And to be honest, the odds-on favourites not winning both of them makes it for really good viewing. I think it's massive for Scottish rugby, though, for the Glasgow Warriors to go and beat the likes of Munster and get into the URC final. I think it speaks volumes of where they're coming from and really are growing. Yes, there's only two Scotland teams compared to the 4 Ireland teams, but that's the difference between Scotland rugby and Ireland rugby. And maybe in the future they might look at a third team. No idea where they'd even base it. I don't know if you then go and put one. I mean, I don't know, where do you have it? Aberdeen, Dundee. Not exactly the biggest place over there. Aberdeen probably, I think is the 3rd biggest city in Scotland. I'll be speaking under correction. Maybe Dundee. I don't know where else you could potentially have a 3rd Scottish team if you were to have a 3rd Scottish team. I don't think you need to be fair. I think at the moment it's working. Also, they do select players who play outside of Scotland, so they don't have that issue, for example, whereas Ireland don't. And we're going to have another reset here into the final miniature. Glasgow Warriors just need to last another 50 seconds, and they will be in the URC final with the Bulls. Well, we will have, assuming this results, we will have a brand new URC champion, which would make it 3 different champions in 3 different seasons, which is quite nice. And none of them being Leinster is a massive surprise. But I think it's also good for the competition to see that there are other teams that can contend. This is not becoming a one-horse race, for example, every season. Now, Tupolotto, 30 seconds left. You can hear the fans desperately trying to find something from Munster. They've got to try and turn this ball over, but 20 seconds left. Do they dare kick it? Hall wants to try and use a couple more phases. Probably need one more after this. Uses the call from Horn. And I don't know if that... It is red. It is red. That is it. Glasgow Warriors have shot Munster. We will have a new URC champion. Ladies and gentlemen, the URC final will be contested between the Bulls and the Glasgow Warriors at Loftus next week, Saturday. Tune in there and then. Thank you very much. It's been a fantastic evening. Thank you for joining me throughout the day. It's been a lot of fun. We will have the build-up for next week. We will have Tupolotto, by the way, again, player of the match. I think Tom Jordan has been robbed a little bit there. Tupolotto was very, very good, though. So, congratulations if you're a Glasgow Warriors fan. Commiserations if you are a Munster fan. You did win the thing last season, so, give everybody else a chance. That will be the end of Simon Zevo's career, so shout out to him. The end of Archie Snyman at Munster as well. But yeah, please do smash like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel as well. We are chasing 67,000 subscribers. We're very, very close to that. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe.